2026.
Recording in progress.
It is January 12th. Could we have a roll call, please? City Clerk Coffey.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Here.
Councilmember Beer. Councilmember Beckmeyer.
Present.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Present.
Mayor Bowles.
Present. Thank you. Great. Sorry, we're running just a little bit late from our closed session tonight. City Manager Woodhouse, is there any reportable action from the closed session?
No reportable action, Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I will start by reading the land acknowledgement. The City of Pacifica acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their tradition, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place, as well as for all the peoples who reside in their traditional territory. We affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. And with that, I will lead us in the salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our first item on our agenda is a special presentation from HIP Housing. And oh, you are not Kevin Joyner. Hi, would you mind introducing yourself? Yeah. And welcome.
Okay, all set?
Uh-huh.
Good evening, council members, City Manager Kevin Woodhouse. My name is Peggy Jensen, and I retired from the county about 3 years ago as the Assistant County Executive. The focus of my last few years with the county, actually about the last 10 years with the county, was homelessness and affordable housing. And I was honored to work with the City of Pacifica, with City Manager Woodhouse, his great planning team, and the council at that time on a variety of initiatives related to affordable housing, including Home for All. I also had the pleasure of working with the Pacifica Resource Center on a variety of projects. So I'm glad to be here tonight in Pacifica as a member of the HIP Housing Board of Directors. I was pleased to join HIP Housing and be able to continue my involvement with affordable housing and housing assistance for San Mateo County residents. I'm here to provide you this evening with a brief update on HIP and also share the 2026 HIP Housing calendar. So, update on HIP. Since 1972, HIP Housing has been bringing low-income San Mateo County residents, helping them find and maintain affordable housing. Last year, HIP worked with over 3,900 individuals and provided housing to over 750 low-income households throughout the county. But in addition to providing affordable housing, HIP has home sharing, housing readiness, and self-sufficiency programs. In Pacifica, HIP has arranged and supports 3 home-sharing households and is working with another housing provider to provide them a good match for a home share. In addition, 4 Pacifica residents are working with the HIP Housing Readiness Program. HIP is providing assistance in terms of completing affordable housing applications and providing counseling and other supports to those individuals. And finally, I had the pleasure of attending this past October the HIP Housing Self-Sufficiency graduation. The 9 graduates had received housing support from HIP while they completed their education. The graduates will be entering the fields of nursing, special education, medical assisting, childcare, and mental health counseling. All of these professions, all of them need more qualified providers in San Mateo County. And because of the HIP Self-Sufficiency Program, these people will be able to provide work and provide services in our community. So on behalf of HIP Housing, I'd like to thank your council for your ongoing support. And as a thank you for that support, Troy and I would like to present with you the 2026 HIP Housing Calendar. Has that been, so everyone has a copy?
We do.
Great.
Yeah.
So each year, HIP asks children from around the county in grades K through 5th to draw a picture of home and tell us what home means to them. This year, there were over 150 calendar entries. 14 winners were selected, one for each of the 12 months in the calendar, one for the cover, and one for the annual appeal materials that HIP shares. So in looking through the calendar, my favorite month, and I hope you'll have a favorite month too, but mine is July. I think possibly because it looks a little bit like the house could be in Pacifica and the lovely sunset you all had this evening. But most importantly, I loved what Ileana, a 5th grader from San Bruno, said about what home means to her. She said, "A house is built with bricks and beams. A home is built with love and dreams." So on behalf of HIP, the HIP staff, and the HIP board, I hope you enjoy the calendar. And I hope that it serves as a reminder, a beautiful reminder throughout the year of how important affordable and stable and safe housing is to everyone in our county, especially our children. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Peggy. Yeah. And thank you for all your work. Council members, would you like to make any comments or ask any questions? Yeah, stay.
It's so good to see you.
You too.
When I see you, I like flash back on all the work we got to do together with Home for All, and that was really good work. It was so good for our community, and wouldn't it be nice to be able to do something like that again in a time where we really need to bring people together to have these important discussions about home. So anyway, I just wanted to say how happy I am to see you. It brought back beautiful memories for me. I really appreciate it. And who doesn't always love this? So, thanks.
Thank you very much, Mary.
I don't see lights. Good.
Sure, I'd also like to thank you, and housing is super important to all of us up here, and we appreciate people like you who are out there in the community trying to make it happen, and helping us remember about the kids as being part of this too, because that's the part that touches me the most, combining those two things, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the hard work, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
You want to go? I want to thank you especially for the calendar. There's an empty spot in the library in Cabrillo School where I spend my days because I just took down the old one. But seriously, I also wanted to note on the back, I think that HIP Housing has a new home, if that's correct.
That's absolutely right. It's a beautiful new home.
When we were there last year for the reveal of the calendar, I think I heard about the move. Can you give us a little update about that?
I can. I don't know, Troy, is that something you'd like to share? So HIP purchased a building in downtown San Mateo. They moved in the 1st of December. It's a beautiful new building. It's going to be a hub for housing needs for everyone in San Mateo. It's located right across the street from the San Mateo City Park, so clients can have the opportunity to walk around. There are opportunities for walking, meetings, beautiful meeting spaces, wonderful client rooms or rooms where clients can be counseled and they can receive support. And if you happen to be in San Mateo, I urge you to come visit and just get a tour. I'm assuming that's welcome. Everyone's
Wonderful.
welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Certainly.
I want to thank you for the calendar and for having the kid to dream about those homes. I wish those homes could be real homes for people. And having a place to go every day is so important. I feel that you can be anywhere, and when you come home, you feel safe. So we wish everybody will have a place to live. That is important to us too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just thought I'm really happy to hear that there's a couple of home share partnerships and maybe a third one happening in Pacifica. Would you mind talking a little bit more about that? It's an opportunity to educate the community, right? If someone has a room free in their house, or, you know, a senior who might need a little help paying their mortgage, or, you know, maybe even exchanging some gardening services or so.
Sure.
Yeah.
The home share program is actually, I think that HIP Housing is probably one of the premier home share program providers in the nation. And what they do is look for people who have a room, like you said, or some spare space in their home, and they are looking for someone to help either pay for the rent, maybe provide some services to offset some rent, but someone to live with them. I don't know, there are about 350 people total who are involved in the home share program, is what I recall. Unfortunately, there are many more people who are interested in sharing a home than there are providers, so I know that HIP is always looking for someone that is interested in sharing their home, and I was thrilled to hear that someone is looking for someone in Pacifica, and I'm sure there'll be a match made soon. I think the other thing that makes the HIP program so important is there's a lot of screening done to make sure the match is a good match between the home provider and the person who's going to be living with them. They also provide ongoing check-ins to make sure everything is going well, to make sure that they have sort of living agreements before move-in even occurs. So it's a very supportive program, very successful program, and when I was doing a lot of work in housing, the thing that so impressed me about the home sharing program was the fact that it's essentially creating more homes, more houses, more homes for people at an extremely low cost. You don't have to go out and build a new building. And it's a way to people to help stay in the homes that they may have had for a very long time. So spread the word if you would. We would really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I love that you do this screening, because I think even just for myself, like I might have a room at times, but I might be worried about who I could get and whether we're compatible. Do people are allowed to meet each other before, you know, making that commitment as well, or?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I heard at the Council of Cities we went to in Southern California, one city, Redlands, I think, who was making just a lot of progress on meeting their homeless need, actually had like a matchmaking dating day where, you know, people who were even thinking about it could, you know, where you meet a senior who is in your community who's looking for housing, and, you know, that helps take some of the fear away of maybe being open to that. So, yeah. Thank you so much for all you do in our community and the county.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. And are there any public comments I should ask about the HIP Housing special presentation? Either in the room or online. I don't have any cards. No? Okay. We could take a picture, but maybe I'm a little late in asking that. It's okay? All right. All right, well, we'll move on then to our consent calendar. So there are 7 items on the consent calendar. Would City Manager, you had one correction?
Yes, Mayor Bowles, thank you. For item number 7 on the consent calendar regarding 570 Crespi, there is a correction to an exhibit indicating the rezoning boundary that extends onto the city-owned parcel, and the corrected exhibit has been distributed in hard copy to council members and is available for the public at the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So with that, were there any council members who'd like to pull an item off consent? Seeing none?
Not pull one, but I would like to make a comment about one, if that's all right.
Okay, before or after public comment?
After public comment would be fine.
So I will open public comment on the consent agenda. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Cindy Abbott, followed by Cassandra. Hi.
Hello, good evening. Nice to see all of you. I'll jump right into, I'm speaking about number 5 on the consent agenda, about offshore oil drilling. And I just want to give a big thank you to all of you who brought this forward and putting together the letter. How critical is it of our entire state to stand firm and to say no to any new offshore oil drilling? We all know what happens. It's inevitable that leaks will happen, will damage our environment, and let's get a grip. Oil is so last century. So we really need to move on, and I just wanted to make sure that I started tonight with saying thank you so much for putting everything together, signing that and getting it off, and saying no to oil throughout the entire California coast. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. So Cassandra, followed by Gail Benton-Shoemaker. Hello.
Hello. I'm here on behalf of County Supervisor Ray Mueller in support of consent item number 5. Supervisor Mueller and Supervisor Spear have authored a resolution that the county board is expected to adopt tomorrow as well, that expresses the County of San Mateo's strong and unequivocal opposition to the Trump administration's proposed 11th National Outer Continental Shelf oil and gas leasing program, which would open up the California coast to offshore drilling. It further directs the president of the board to approve submission of a comment letter in opposition. And the comment letter states in part that the County of San Mateo includes 40 miles of the California coast from Pacifica to the Santa Cruz County line. Thousands of county residents rely on clean ocean waters and pristine beaches for their livelihoods, including employment in the fishing, tourism, and recreation sectors. As part of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, the San Mateo County coast is home to an immense variety of precious flora and fauna. All of these would be harmed by every stage of the offshore oil drilling process and immeasurably damaged by an inevitable oil spill. I have brought several copies for all of you of the comment letter for your records.
Okay, thank you so much, Cassandra. So Gail, followed by Suzanne Moore, and that's the last card I have.
Hi, I also support 5, of course. But today, my name is Gail Benton-Shoemaker, and I'm speaking as a member of Tree City Pacifica regarding the impact fee report on the consent calendar. On pages 70, 71, and 103, there is a report on the tree fund. Is the reason the tree fund has so little money due to the loophole language in the tree ordinance? Tree City Pacifica worked on the revision of the tree ordinance for 2 years. We researched best practices in 16 other cities, many of which were incorporated into the ordinance. In 2022, Council approved the revision of the tree ordinance with a 2-for-1 replacement requirement or in lieu fee for every tree removed. Imagine our shock in 2023 when we learned that there was previously undetected wording in the ordinance that negates the 2-for-1 replacement and in lieu fees. Instead of saying a minimum of 2 replacement trees for every tree removed, the ordinance states a minimum of 2 replacement trees for every otherwise healthy tree removed. Because anyone can claim their tree they removed was not healthy, very few replacement trees would be planted and very few in lieu fees paid. These 2 words created the loophole. After reviewing the City Council meeting video, it was clear that the intent of City Council was to have 2-for-1 replacement or in lieu fees for all protected trees removed. Recently, Google paid the City of Mountain View over $700,000 regarding tree removal. Of course, their tree ordinance undoubtedly made this possible. For 4 years, we have spoken to City Council and at goal-setting meetings asking the loophole language be removed. This involves taking 2 words on page 6 of Chapter 12 and 2 words out on page 5 of Chapter 14. This fall, Council changed the wording in the RV parking ordinance by putting it on the agenda. Please direct staff to put the tree ordinance loophole language on the agenda of an upcoming council meeting so you can vote to remove it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Suzanne Moore? And if anyone else would like to speak, there are yellow cards in the back, and you can leave them with staff at the back table. Thank you.
Suzanne Moore from Pacifica Manor. Good evening, City Council, City staff, and my neighbors. I'm speaking on consent item number 7. Tonight, Council has a last opportunity to reflect on community concerns regarding the sale and development of city property at 540 Crespi. The California Surplus Land Act of 2024 requires local agencies to prioritize affordable housing, parks, and schools upon its sale. That is why the city's approval to sell 540 Crespi to for-profit contractors is a disappointment. Our community has expressed concerns over this sale and development. Members of our environmental community are concerned that protected space between the historic marshland and development is insufficient and should be 100 feet. Housing advocates are disappointed that a renegotiation of the development agreement for additional below-market rate housing and an updated appraisal failed. The ordinance as written, I believe, is not in the best interest of Pacifica. Without a renegotiation of this ordinance, the 540 sale will remain a sad, missed opportunity for our community. And I agree with the 3 prior speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. And Emily, do we have anyone online? No. Okay. With that, I will close public comment and bring it back to council. Greg, you wanted to make a statement?
Yeah, I want to actually agree with all our speakers. I want to agree with our council on how important it is to speak on item number 5. I want to recognize our staff and appreciate how they worked to put it on there. It may be on consent. It may not seem like that big a deal because it's on consent, because we're not talking about it up here like in a manner that's as important as this is. This is really important. And I so appreciate it. I'm so glad to live in this community and so glad to be able to be a part of it. And I just wanted to thank you all.
And I want to give a special shout out to Councilmember Beckmeyer, who's the one who put this on the agenda. And she learned about it, and I think the language came from the Coastal Cities Working Group that is working to advocate for this fighting of the federal government trying to take over our coast for oil drilling. And so I really appreciate the staff at Cal Cities, Melissa Sparks-Krantz, but this is where it's really important to have representation at these different areas at the state level. And so thank you. I think it's really beautifully worded, and it's so important. We're all trying to do the right thing in this state, right? We're trying to, there are opportunities maybe for offshore wind and other things for clean energy, that we can look at, but oil is not what we need and has so many potential threats to our coastline, our economy, our environment. So I'm sure, beyond the letter, I'm pretty sure our legislators are going to be looking at this, from a legal angle too, but it's important for us to speak up and support them in that work too.
Yeah, if I could just comment on that. When our legislators want to take action, having a significant number of cities having echoed and leading on this issue helps bolster what they're trying to do. And I want to echo what Greg said, thank staff for fast action, because it was the December meeting where we had this presentation from our Santa Cruz and Mid-Coast County Representative, Shebra Kalantari Johnson. She's involved with an organization that's specifically focused on this, so she brought a speaker to our meeting, and that's where the action items came forward. And it was with some trepidation that I picked up the phone to call the city manager, because we were very close to holiday time and all of that, and timing for this meeting, knowing we were going to have a break and we needed to get the agenda done, et cetera, et cetera. So I appreciate staff. Thank you for that fast action. It was obviously really well received and important. Thank you. Oh, and also, Environmental Quality Committee, I'm sure will have something to say about it too. So I'm very glad that you are on that committee and look forward to hearing after your first meeting. Did you say it's this month?
It's this month, yeah, the 20th.
Great.
Thanks. Okay. If there are no other comments, I just wanted to ask one question about the vote. If, because Crespi is on here and there are things that, I'll just speak for myself, that I voted against before, should we, do we just make that statement? So
Yes, you can just note it, and then the clerk will put it into the minutes. Just note it at this time.
Okay, so I'll note at this time that I'm voting no on item 7.
And same here, I'm voting no on item 7.
Okay, and with that, if there's nothing else, could we?
Did my light turn on?
Oh, I'm sorry, your light is on. I'm not used to looking at that yet. I have to learn.
It's okay.
Yes, Mary, go ahead, please.
You're doing great, Christine,
Sorry.
by the way.
Councilmember Beer.
I just want to move to approve the consent calendar.
Oh, right, we have to move in second.
Second.
So, point of clarification for the city attorney, if we're voting with 2 noes on item 7, does that need to be pulled and voted on separately, or they're voting no on the consent
They just noted for the
agenda
record.
altogether?
Now there's a motion. The motion should be to approve items 1 through 6.
Items 1 through 6.
Yes.
So, we are pulling it.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 through 7, but
Okay.
item 7 is approved 3-2.
I got you.
Okay, but we all vote yes on the
Right,
consent. Okay,
Right, because
with
that's
that
the majority
clarification.
vote, sorry.
And I don't have to change my motion?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Where's my voting?
I don't know where my voting thing is.
Oh, did I do the wrong button, Sarah?
No, because there's no sticker here.
Oh.
Sarah was on it.
I did. Okay. Oopsie.
The sticker's in the wrong place.
So the voting lights are yes unanimously for items on consent, items number 1 through 6. For item number 7 on consent calendar, the vote passes with a vote of 3 in favor, 2 opposed. The 2 opposing votes are for Mayor Bowles and Councilmember Espinosa for item number 7.
Great, thank you so much.
Kevin, there's
Sarah.
one more.
It's probably for future. Okay, so we are moving on to public comments on items not on the agenda for tonight. And I'm just going to read a quick statement. Yeah, public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments on non-agendized items must address matters within the subject matter of the city, and comments on agendized items must relate to that specific item. If comments do not fall into one of those categories, the city will provide you with initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city or on topic. If the warning is not followed, I will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone. And throughout this warning system, I will seek the assistance of the city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item or not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. So, thank you. And with that, I have a number of cards for public comment, starting with Anita Reese, followed by Cindy Abbott.
Hello, Anita Reese with the Pacifica Resource Center. I just wanted to give some updates about Pacifica Resource Center's work. We continue to be open on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays from 9 to 5, Wednesdays 9 to 7, Friday 9 to 1, and one Saturday a month from 9 to 1. We are closed for lunch Monday through Thursday, 12:30 to 1:30. And our next Saturday office hours is on the 31st of January, which is also the launch of our free tax services. So if anybody needs their taxes to be done, give us a call. More information will follow soon with specific dates and times that will be open. We do have a new economic security coordinator and case manager, so she's taking it over this year, so it'll be fun. I wanted to let you all know also that our Unhoused on the Coast outreach team will respond to requests for outreach to unhoused folks in Pacifica through Pescadero every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, and holidays, 9 to 5. And if you see someone living outside or in vehicles, email us at ucoutreach@pacresourcecenter.org. or you can call our line at 650-452-6279. I wanted to share, as of today, there are 86 folks who are documented as unhoused in Pacifica. Of those, 20 are in our safe parking program, so really there's 65 folks who are unsheltered 100%. There are 6 encampments that include 67 folks. Again, 2 of those encampments are the safe parking program with 20 people, so there's 47 people who are not in the safe parking program who are unhoused in an encampment in Pacifica, and 19 individuals who are not in any particular encampment. Encampments generally mean there's a space that is somewhat permanent, not permanent, but they come back, right? So there's a tent that doesn't get taken down. Otherwise, individuals don't have a place that they stay regularly. They move around. I also wanted to share that the one-day homeless count is on Thursday, January 29th, starting at 5 a.m. PRC is the base of operations, so if you're interested in being a volunteer enumerator for the one-day homeless count, please go to smcgov.org and search 2026 one-day homeless count to sign up. You can say you want to do it in Pacifica, and we'd be happy to host you. I also wanted to just share that our Holiday Joy program, we were able to match 242 children and their families with generous donors and sponsors who helped us bring happy holidays to those folks. That surpasses our goal of 200. So thanks to all of the donors in the community who really helped us serve everybody who needed help. We didn't have to turn anybody away. And our next distribution is on January 28th at the American Legion Hall, grocery distribution at 555 Buell. If you haven't already signed up, please arrive around 4 p.m. and we will serve you with groceries. Our number is 650-738-7470, so call us if you need help. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Anita, and thanks for all the work you do. So Cindy Abbott, followed by Yomi Agunbiade. Might not be saying that right.
Hello, Cindy Abbott, and right now I'm wearing the hat as Executive Director at Sanchez Art Center. I'd like to invite all of you and everyone in the community to our first openings of the new year, which is this Friday, January 16th, from 7 to 9 p.m. at Sanchez Art Center. And it's 3 shows. In the East Gallery, we're delighted to be sharing the award winners and judges of the wonderful FogFest photography contest. So we're excited about that. There'll be a gallery walk and talk for that on Saturday, January 31st, starting at 3 o'clock. In the West Gallery, we've got the work of the Art Guild of Pacifica, and wow, did they come out for this show of the year called Anything Goes. There's over 60 works, somehow beautifully arranged in the West Gallery. And then super important to us and very poignant for us is for the first time ever, our artistic director, Jerry Roth Barish, is being shown in the main gallery. And the only reason that we're doing that, because otherwise that was against Mr. Barish's ethics of showing his own work that he's been programming there for the past 2 decades. And that's because Jerry, as of this year, is now our artistic director emeritus, having retired from the role that he has fulfilled since 2004, bringing the most incredible artwork here to Pacifica. From great artists to astounding curators. So this is just one of the first of many different events and celebrations will be happening. The first exhibition, planning a second one to be coming up, but this one is really moving. It's really a great way to see his work and how he turns assembled plastic into artworks that bring emotion, passion, and just a lot of excitement to all of us and is showing here in the main gallery. We'll be having an artist talk as well with Jerry on the last day of the show, which is February 8th. Go Niners? Or come see art. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll be doing a lot of other things to recognize all the work that Jerry has done for the arts community, literally for decades. And we will also be announcing our new curatorial director, Alida Bray, former Pacifican and outstanding nonprofit and cultural worker. and she was the curator for Jerry's show. Come and see us.
Thank you so much, Cindy. So Yomi, followed by Suzanne Moore, and then Ron Makel.
Okay.
Hi there.
Good evening, council members, staff, everyone. My name is Yomi Agunbiade. I live right here in Sharp Park, and I'm here today in my capacity as a member of the board of the Pacifica Resource Center. I want to take my time to tell you about a couple of our services that people may not know about, but I'll set that aside for a moment and just start by saying I recognize a few faces out there. So hello to you, but this is my first time coming before you guys, but having been on the board now for a couple of years, I wanted to start by just saying thank you to the council, to the city staff, everything from the city manager's office to the police department, and just continuing to partner with us in our organization's effort to support the resilience and well-being of families and individuals in Pacifica and on the coast. So I just wanted to start by saying thank you for that, and I continue to look forward to partnering with you guys to do more for everybody. So the PRC. So when you think about the PRC, of course, we're hopeful that you think of our core services like groceries, emergency financial assistance for rent or utilities, and access to homeless services, right? But at a time when, with prices of everything going up more and more of our neighbors are having a real difficult time making decisions about what to forego from month to month, we wanted to make sure that people know also about some of the things that we also provide that they may not know about. So pet assistance is something we do provide because we really believe that pets are a part of the family, and our goal is to support the whole family when clients come to the PRC for help. As a proud parent of 2 dogs myself, I know the emotional toll it would be for me and my wife if we didn't know how to take care of our pets, or we thought we needed to give them up. So 2 things: we provide pet food from our pantry when we have it, and we also have gift cards for pet food, and we also provide vet services. Our vet services are through the SPCA, and they are available on site at the PRC up to twice a month. So people can call to be screened and to schedule an appointment. But I have a dog, people have their pets. You know that these things come up for your pets unscheduled. So when that happens, you can definitely give us a call, and we have funds that are available through the Rockaway Ricky Memorial Fund to help cover those costs. And I think you all know that the Rockaway Ricky Memorial Fund is a project of the Pacificans Care. So thanks again for that help, and let's just get the message out that we have those services as well.
Thank you so much, Yomi. Thank you. Perfect timing. Suzanne Moore, followed by Ron Makel, and then the last card I have is Raymond Acosta.
Suzanne Moore again, and Yomi, I didn't know about that, so that was cool to hear about. Okay. As we watch the financial attack of federal social services systems, we need to watch the impact on HUD funding and last-minute attempts of the federal administration to change the rules for funding application to the Continuum of Care grant program. The impact will be local, regional, and national, and it may be dramatic. This spring, I and community advocates first heard of tenants with Section 8 vouchers being evicted from a local apartment complex. Upon investigation, we learned that the eviction strongly appeared to be a regional systemic action to preemptively evict vouchered tenants in response to rumors of HUD funding cuts. We encourage clients to seek legal aid and speak with the Housing Authority in order to preserve their vouchers and housing. As this is a vulnerable population with a past history of trauma, we know some did not seek assistance, and we know at least one individual locally resumed living in a car. As we connect with others regionally, we recognize the complexity and far-reaching implications for funding cuts. The crisis impacts our most vulnerable Section 8 voucher tenants, our landlords who provide necessary housing, HSA offices who may be forced to reduce community services, our county's efforts to reduce homelessness, and potentially our community's economic health and social stability. Rule changes for 2026 are anticipated, and the administration proposes to refocus attention away from permanent housing, permanent supportive housing, and rapid rehousing efforts. Existing programs dependent on federal funding may find funding sources greatly reduced or non-existent. It will be up to state and local governments to fill in funding gaps if they can. For advocates seeking direction, we need to keep up with the information provided by the National Alliance to End Homelessness Coalition. Congress has until January 30th, when the November stopgap measure to reopen the government expires, to determine whether or how deeply to cut the Section 8 program. Please take time to contact Congressman Liccardo, Senators Padilla and Schiff, requesting full funding. Advocates can also share concerns with county board supervisors and our governor. Housing and urban development, a system which served our nation since its inception in 1937, has never faced cuts to existing subsidies and is now threatened. We await release of the 2026 Notice of Funding application with great concern for our continuum of care funding and the vulnerable populations that will bear the greatest impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. So Ron Meikle, followed by Raymond Acosta. Not seeing Ron. Raymond?
He was here.
Maybe you stepped to the restroom or something. Hi, Raymond.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Raymond Acosta. I'm a citizen of Pacifica. First off, I want to say thank you to the City Council and the staff, the city staff, for all your hard work for 2025. It's been a very successful year, I believe. And a big congratulations is in store for, Christine Bowles, our mayor, and Greg, our vice mayor. And thank you, Sue, former Mayor Sue Beckmeyer, and, the rest of the council. And I also want to say thank you to the committees and the commissions. I've been frequenting a lot of them, and they're the pulse of the city, and the pulse of the citizens. And I think continuing listening to them, I think would guarantee, with no doubt, a very successful 2026. And thank you again. Thank you for HIP and PRC for everything that you do. We really appreciate you. That's awesome work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raymond. So I still don't see Ron, so maybe we can go to any phone comments. So no one. Okay. Well, I will close public comment for now. We'll see if he maybe steps back in the room a little bit later. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So that moves us on to our consideration items. So item number 8 is an update on the Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project. So I believe City Manager Woodhouse is going to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor Bowles and Vice Mayor Wright and council members. Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. It's been a while since we've been able to provide an update about the status of the Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project. And so tonight's update is about Phase 2A, and we have Deputy Public Works Director, City Engineer, and Project Manager, essentially, Roland Yip, here to present, as well as our representative from GHD. So we look forward to the conversation. You're likely to hear a fairly detailed presentation about the project and the status, and really it is an update about this phase. You'll hear also information about our continuing fundraising, needs and search for for funding for this incredibly important infrastructure project. And during the conversation, I can speak a little bit more to some of the efforts we have underway regarding that. But without further ado, I'd like to kick it over to Mr. Yip.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, Roland Yip, Deputy Director of Public Works / City Engineer. I also have with me Aaron Holloway. He is the project manager from GHD on this project. And yes, we'd like to present for you today the Phase 2A City Council update on our Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project. I will start off with, sorry, Sarah, is this working for me? Okay, next slide, please. So I will start us off with a project background. I'm going to recap on what was discussed with our Phase 1 of the project, the current schedule, funding sources, and then the storm impacts. I will pass it over to Aaron to give us a design summary of Phase 2A, along with features and amenities, and then he will also discuss a little bit about the upcoming next phase and next steps on this project. So for the project, this is located in northern Pacifica on the western edge of historic West Sharp Park neighborhood between Paloma and Clarendon Avenue. And it assesses the entire span of the current infrastructure and seawall, and this includes the north wall, the pure wall system, the south wall, and then the south gap. This is the BBURP goals, is to replace the current seawall and outdated infrastructure, build climate resilience in one of the most vulnerable segments of the city's shoreline, improve public access and use of the Beach Boulevard Promenade, and create a multi-benefit solution to protect public infrastructure, recreational activities, homes, businesses, and the community at large from further coastal erosion. So the Phase 1 outcome, in June 2021, the council approved this preferred design concept, which is a design component of a deep foundation seawall, rock scour apron, and a beach nourishment. And this alternative scored the highest to meet all of our objectives, and this includes meeting the BBURP objectives, aligning with technical performance, financial, and environmental considerations, consistency with Pacifica's draft local coastal land use plan policies. And some of this can be found online in our Phase 1 major deliverables. In alternative analysis has very detailed discussions on all of these options, including each one of these components at its individual level, the rock revetment, the seawall, beach nourishment, as well as a sand retention with beach nourishment, sand retention as in a coastal reef with our sand nourishment. All of that was analyzed very thoroughly in our Phase 1 feasibility studies. And here's the current schedule. It's a little different than what people may have seen in the community meetings that we had for the project. For our Phase 2B environmental documentation, it's likely to take 24 plus months. And then for our Phase 2C, the final permitting and design, we're also anticipating likely take 24 plus months. And that is something that we'll have to go through Coastal Commission, so the timeframe on that one is going to be a little bit more challenging. For our basis of design, it does discuss some timeframes in there regarding the construction, but that is going to be determined with the subsequent phases of the project as well. And here's our BBURP funding sources. So this has been a long-going effort starting back in 2020 with our preliminary planning and feasibility work and Phase 1 studies. And so That was funded by California Assembly Bill 74, as well as our disaster accounting funds. And that was $1.5 million with a $1 million in disaster accounting. And that funded us up to our Phase 2A that we just completed. The next phase of the project is Phase 2B, the environmental documentation. So we had a Department of Boating and Waterways Shoreline Erosion Control Grant that we applied for fiscal year 25-26 for $2.5 million. However, our project was not selected for that grant. So we went and we applied for another grant opportunity for the Climate Bond Proposition 4 grant for another $2.5 million. So we just completed that grant application last December, and we're waiting to hear back. So this is a rolling grant. There's no deadlines for the Climate Bond Proposition 4 grant, so they will announce through the Coastal Conservancy any awards every several months. So we should be hearing back soon. And then we brought a staff report about this previously for the Phase 2C, the permitting and 100% design application to the same grant for the Department of Boating and Waterways for the erosion control grant for the next fiscal year, 26-27, for another $2.5 million. The reason for that was we did not hear back for our Phase 2B application yet, so we did a separate application just so we could get one in for the subsequent year. And then an update on our Phase 3, the construction grant funding that we had originally been shortlisted for the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant, the BRIC grant of $50 million. So that program was completely canceled, so we were no longer going to be receiving funds for that, for the $50 million. Some of the storm impacts that has happened on Beach Boulevard. This recent winter, we have approximately $180,000 in storm damages from 3 seawall breaches. The seawall breaches also causes closures of Beach Boulevard, and the seawall is needed for the protection of Beach Boulevard, which is access to the Pacifica Pier. So with this recent one breach, for example, it was right next to Chit Chat Cafe, and so that was direct in proximity to the access point of the Pacifica Pier. We have a photo here about showing the wash sand that occurs on Beach Boulevard. So we're still dealing with some of the reimbursements for FEMA for the wash sand that has occurred from 3 years ago. And then so in totality, there's 12 seawall breaches that has occurred since 2016, and the cost of those breaches has totaled over $1 million. And I'll pass it over to Aaron Holloway for our Phase A update.
Thank you, Roland. I'll take us through some of the design summary, and this will be a lot of information that's kind of pulled together through the different workshops and things as the project has advanced. Just to recap, the existing seawall suffers from both flooding and erosion and undermining. Flooding is largely due to the crest height of the wall is not high enough to limit the overtopping to a reasonable amount. That can be handled with the storm drain infrastructure. That's partly due to the wall elevation also differs along the project reach depending on sand levels and scour in front of the rock revetment and seawall. And then on the north side of the wall does not have a deep foundation. It's supported by steel tiebacks that you can see in the photo on the right. And during these storm events, the wave action can pull material out from underneath that wall. And it opens up voids behind the wall that then cause failure of the concrete panels. So this is typical of some of the recent damages. So these are the two primary issues we're trying to solve as we move forward. So the preliminary design criteria that we applied in the analysis is assuming a 50-year design life, designing for an extreme storm event similar to the January 2023 event, which caused a lot of the damage that we're seeing in these photos. We're applying 2 feet of sea level rise to the design and trying to limit overtopping within a tolerable range based on our observations of what we've seen from past events. And then, of course, making sure the structure is stable in a seismic event. So we're relying on a range of design codes and guidelines to guide us through this analysis. Sea level rise is an important parameter. A lot of the historic flooding is very water level dependent, so it happens at high tides with wave events. So obviously sea level rise is going to exacerbate that and going to have more frequent high tide events with large wave events. So the criteria includes 2 feet of sea level rise would be built into the project on day one. The updated guidance from the Ocean Protection Council is shown here from 2024. There was a slight shift in the projections. So over the near term, sea level rise, near term being out to 2050, sea level rise is likely going to be around a foot. Going out past 2050, it'll likely be around 2 feet in that kind of 2060 to 2080 time frame. And then as we go further along into the future, there's greater uncertainty and therefore the projections diverge. So what we're looking at right now is trying to balance the amount of sea level rise we want to build into the project on day one, and then with the risk of what these future projections may look like. Here's a couple slides just showing that extreme storm event from January that we're using to estimate total water levels that we can then kind of use engineering formulas to understand kind of wave parameters, water levels. This is the south end from the same event. So when the total water level, which is from the wave run up against the seawall, exceeds the seawall, then we get wave overtopping. And that's what we see in these photos that propagates across the promenade, or in this case, the park at the south end, and then accumulates on Beach Boulevard, affecting access, homeowners, and other users. So one of the key parameters we're using to determine the height of the seawall is wave overtopping. And so we're looking at the water levels, including sea level rise and these storm events, to understand at what point does that overtopping become too difficult to manage. And so based on what we've seen from past events, anything over 1 CFS per foot, that's cubic feet per second per foot of seawall, it kind of overwhelms the system. We have a lot of flooding that's persistent. It accumulates in low-lying areas like around Clarendon. And of course, there's a lot of sand and sediment that builds up. And of course, there's property damage as well from that type of flooding. So our goal is to increase the height of the seawall so that event does not cause this disruptive flooding. So what we're looking at is existing wall is down here around 26. It varies, along the project, but just for the most part, it's at 26. What we're looking at is elevating the seawall to an elevation of 30. And that goes up to 32 at Carmel Avenue. It steps down to 28 at the south end, but for the most part, in the vicinity of the pier, where overtopping has been the worst, it's going to be around 30 feet. And this buys us protection present day, so those extreme storm events will be very little overtopping. There will still be some flooding, still some splash over the wall, but it won't overwhelm the system, and there'll be some improved stormwater features to handle that flooding. And as we go forward with sea level rise built in, the extreme storm event will then become more problematic. So with 2 feet of sea level rise and our design event, we'll get flooding like we've seen from these recent storm events. Hopefully with the stormwater improvements that we were planning for the project, that flooding will not be as extensive, and the duration will be much shorter than we've seen in past events. And then with 3.5 feet of sea level rise, again, that extreme storm event would be outside of that tolerable range. And so we can expect more flooding in that scenario. I'm going to go over the alignment. This has been a big focus of this phase of work, is where is the new wall going to go? For the most part, the north wall is going to follow the existing alignment. Some of our previous iterations have shown some bump outs at a couple areas to provide some viewing platforms, but we've we've since kind of modified that to just stay within the existing alignment. We think it's going to be more consistent with coastal act policies and help the permitting process by not pushing the wall further out. And on the south end, we're going to pull the wall further back, away from the beach, to help preserve some of that sandy beach area, while still also, having a promenade and some key beach access features at that end. So from the structural standpoint, we've got the steel pipe pile is the main vertical structure we see here. It'll be about 30 inches in diameter and filled with reinforced concrete. There will be a concrete cap on that to support the promenade and provide a parapet wall to meet code because of the vertical drop. And that'll be elevated slightly above the Beach Boulevard roadway. And then in front of the seawall, there will a rock scour apron will remain to make sure there's not excessive scour that could jeopardize the stability of that vertical wall. The pier wall is a similar structure. The idea is that it would be built on the outside of the existing wall. The existing pier is sort of a variety of structures that have been put in place over time. There's an existing soil cement wall, there's a degraded sheet pile wall, and then behind that there's a reinforced concrete wall that was a repair project in 1993. So the idea is this new wall would go kind of just outside of that. We think it'll be 5 to 6 feet outside that in order to be able to drive the piles around there. And then that will involve some work to the pier structure as well to connect each side of that pier wall. And then at the south end is where the structure will be pulled back from its existing alignment. So it'll be about, roughly 100 feet landward of where it is today. And then behind that, it'll be a shallower concrete wall, and it'll be protected by a sand and cobble berm is the plan, and supported by a compacted embankment to support the elevated promenade. The drainage improvements that I alluded to will consist of promenade, catch basins on the promenade tied into the manhole and storm drain network, and then additional catch basins located along Beach Boulevard at regular intervals and at the intersections to capture that flooding and route it back to the ocean before it's able to kind of propagate further into the community. And then at the south end, the elevation of Beach Boulevard drops, so where it's no longer feasible to gravity drain through the seawall. In this area, the flooding will be captured and routed to kind of the Clarendon outfall, and hopefully tied into some of the CIP upgrades planned for the stormwater collection system at that point. I'm going to go over the features and amenities. This was a large focus of the last phase of work and subject of a lot of public feedback. So here's kind of the full site design. I'm going to focus on the north end of the project, whereas there's going to be a viewing platform, and then the south end where there's going to be kind of the main beach access location and some viewing areas and picnic areas as well. There was one shown, another kind of viewing platform shown near Salata Avenue, I believe. But since we pulled the wall back behind its existing footprint, there just wasn't enough area to have a viewing platform there, but we're still going to have a beach access stairway at that location, just like there is now. So this is a plan view of the north end, just showing kind of the seating wall and steps down to a lower platform, and then a slightly lower seawall so that it'll be a nice place to sit and you could look out over the ocean. And then there's going to be a landscape buffer on the backside behind a retaining wall. And then we'd like to add another set of beach access stairways down at this end of the project and across the rocks, just to provide some continuity. There is sand occasionally on that end of the project, and stairs down at that end would help kind of provide continuous lateral beach access to north of the project. So here's a rendering of that area with kind of the lower viewing platform with some seating and then beach access stairways on the left. Some of the, throughout the project, we've got a lot of feedback. I'm not going to say there was consensus. We got a lot of kind of mixed feedback, and one of the topics with mixed feedback was the landscape. And that, landscape in that salty environment is going to be difficult to sustain. There was also concern about trees and views. So there's some things we're still have to work out, So this is still just preliminary. So these renderings give, are helping to kind of visualize, but aren't necessarily final. And then another topic was the trade-off between elevating the seawall but maintaining views. And so that's an important kind of tension throughout the design of the project. Here's some existing photos at the north end, one looking straight out from Paloma, the other looking north across that kind of viewing area. So these are some renderings of the proposed seawall to illustrate how high that wall would be relative to the existing Beach Boulevard roadway elevation. So at this area, generally the top of the wall will be similar to what the top of the railing is out there today. And that's kind of illustrated in these renderings. As we move further south down near Salada Avenue, this is another area where it's an important view corridor that's identified in the Sharp Park specific plan. So again, here are a couple photos of that area near the pier, looking each way, and then a rendering of the project showing kind of what that wall would look like. So if I back up, you kind of you see the railing that's there now will now be kind of the top of that proposed seawall. And so there'll still be some ocean view, but not as much of that near shore kind of surf zone view when you're back on the beach boulevard where these vantage points are. But the idea is that the promenade would be elevated as well, so that views from the promenade and in the seating areas would still be, kind of as they are today. And then going down to the south area, this is the area where we anticipate, due to parking, this is kind of the primary beach access zone. So there's a couple areas here. On the right is kind of a play area. The central area is more like a picnic beach access gathering spot. And then on the left is the south end of the project at Clarendon, where the seawall will tie into the golf course levee. So here's a plan view of the play area. This is where there's some interest in some public art, play structures. We thought this would be a good place for it. Here's an idea of some of what that would look like integrated with the promenade and the seawall. And then on this southern part, there's about a 5-foot elevation difference between what the promenade is here and Beach Boulevard. And we've also drawn kind of a separate bike lane for this stretch of the project, just to sort of help organize kind of the different users along this stretch, which we anticipate will be kind of a busier area, given the parking and the beach access. This is the central part of this stretch. So this is the main beach access zone where we anticipate will be popular to put picnic tables. There's an ADA access ramp central to the parking area, and then this will be the area where we anticipate like the widest sandy beach and kind of the most persistent sandy beach year-round. This is the cross-section of that same area, just showing kind of the 5-foot elevation difference between the promenade and the roadway. And then at the south end, this will be a turnaround that kind of acts as kind of a transition from the promenade to the golf course levee. It kind of balances pedestrian use, bike use, with some bike racks, some other amenities there. And here's a cross-section of that, showing kind of the different levels of that would step up to make that transition from the existing road, which is quite a bit lower than the golf course levee. So I'm going to go over the next steps here. So we're planning to enter the environmental review process. So we've already had a CEQA scoping meeting. CEQA is going to be intended to meet the California Environmental Quality Act. Given the scale and type of the project, the team anticipates an environmental impact report will be required. So the process is to initiate scoping, have a public meeting, which we've done. So now we're kind of waiting to kick off the preparation of the draft EIR. The team right now is still finishing up a project description that will provide the basis for that draft EIR. A lot of factors to consider in that EIR, so this is just a list. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this will kind of evaluate a lot of the different aspects of the project, both from the CEQA standpoint and then also touch on a lot of the same topics that we've spent a lot of time going over with the community and seeking feedback. And then along with that, as that environmental document gets far enough along, we could start engaging and applying for permitting or permits from the various agencies. So here's a list of kind of the primary agencies we anticipate coordinating permits for the project. And then we're aware the city has updated the LCLUP and it was certified by Coastal. That was a huge accomplishment, so well done. And the policies seem to really obviously account for the project, and I think they've really, sort of paved the way for us to, pursue a coastal development permit. That's in accordance with the new policies that have been approved by coastal staff. So that's great news. That's the end of our presentation.
Great, thank you. And staff is available to answer any questions from the City Council.
City Manager Woodhouse, I thought you had wanted to say a little bit more about funding after their presentation.
Sure, I can elaborate a bit, and Mr. Yep summarized some of the grants that we have, but we are engaged in continuing advocacy and with Congressman Liccardo, who actually came out, did a press conference here in Pacifica regarding the Building Resilient Infrastructure Communities grant and the importance of that program. And I think at the federal level, no one knows, whether there's talk about that program potentially coming back. No one knows if that's going to be the case or not. The federal environment is challenging right now, of course. Sorry. So that's one effort, certainly. And then we'll be continuing to seek any available grant opportunities. I've always said all along, this is going to have to be a combination of local, regional, state, and federal funding to fund, an $80 million construction project for a small city. That's the case across the country with most major infrastructure projects that we're being faced with. And the other thing that we're doing more recently is because of the significant 3 breaches in a row this last fall and voids created, that creates an opportunity for us again in reaching out to our state legislators as well as federal to emphasize the emergency importance of funding this critical infrastructure project. And that ties into the importance to us about the shoreline adaptation planning work that we're going to be commencing and committed to with the Coastal Commission through our local coastal land use plan, as well as our coastal access resiliency program, because it's hard to think decades into the future and take care of those needs proactively, adaptation strategies, if you can't manage the immediate emergency situations that we're confronted with. So we're working on all of that, and we hope perhaps 2026 brings some positive news along the funding front. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask if there's any pressing council clarifying questions. I see a light from Councilmember Muir.
That's Greg's light.
Oh, it's labeled your light.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I guess my first question would be, how long do we have left on the seawall and on the pier, considering how many breaches we've had? In other words, just to put a guess to how long the timeline is, how long before the whole thing falls in the ocean?
I think we had to estimate that as part of the FEMA application. And I'm going to just kind of guess, but the numbers in our report, but off the top of my head, I recall the north side of the pier, the seawall is in worse shape, and that's where a lot of these failures have occurred. I think our structural team that did the assessment estimated, kind of a 5 to 10 year time frame on that.
And that was how long ago?
That was probably 5 years ago. I think we did that assessment. So, but again, every failure that happens is more of that wall is now filled with slurry. And so let's hope those repairs hold, because, a large portion of that reach has been repaired already. So at the south wall, I think it's structurally stable. Maybe not as high as it needs to be during some of those extreme events, but structurally it doesn't have the same undermining problem as a north wall. So I think the team estimated a longer time frame for that structure. And longer, I think it was like 10 to 20 years is I think what it.
And the pier?
That was. And the pier itself. I'm not familiar enough with that. I don't know, Roland, do you?
Yes, I can comment a little bit on the pier. So we had recently completed a structural assessment of the pier after the rails had failed. And so there's different portions of the pier, and certain portions are in worse condition than others. So the pier portion that's in the worst is of course the one that's closer to the ocean side. It's the L portion of the pier. And the reason we have closed it off is because many of the components, and when I say components, there's the piles, the girder, and then the deck, and then the rails, and that makes up all the components of the pier. So there are several components in that structural assessment that there are some very critical failures already that's happening. So because of that, that's why half of the pier has been closed off. So in terms of the use and getting the half of the pier to get to reopen back up, we will need to address all of the critical components of the pier. But as far as how much longer we can keep the pier open in terms of 50% of it, I cannot put a number to it, and neither can the GHD is also working on the structural assessments, and they cannot put a definitive number on it. However, we can do a structural assessment after every winter, and that's typically what we've been doing, just to assess any damages to it, to see how long we can keep half of the pier open.
And those are not eligible for emergency repair?
So we have tried. First, we need an emergency to be declared in order to apply for emergency funds. There was one state one that we applied for, and we're still waiting to hear back for that.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, I got a few
go ahead.
questions. On the nourishment, how long do you expect that nourishment to last, since you're counting on that as being part of what's going to protect us?
Yeah, so the beach nourishment is an important part for public access and trying to improve opportunities for beach access. It's not vital to the protection scheme. It does help. It provides a buffer, so fewer waves will be impacting the rock scour apron and the wall. That's a good thing. But those structures are designed to still provide protection if the beach goes away. And I think the estimates are kind of in the 3 to 10 years is the range. So a lot of it depends on the type of material we place. So some of the sources that have been considered are finer, and those are going to wash away quicker. If we can get coarser sand, coarser than native, then that'll stay around longer, we think. So.
Was there any consideration to putting in any groins to help hold it in or anything like that?
Not right now. Those were evaluated in phase 1 as some of the alternatives. There was, we considered groins, and we considered offshore breakwaters and reefs and those type of things. And so those would work, but they are also costly, just because of the amount of rock or material required for those structures.
And I assume you're in active communication with the Coastal Commission in developing these plans?
Yes. Yeah, we had several meetings with them throughout this last phase.
And did you give due consideration to the redirection of the wave energy, both from the new base of the pier and from the change of the shoreline on the south end? What is that wave energy going to do on either side?
Yeah, that's a good question. Part of, and that's part of the reason we want to keep this alignment as it is today, on the north side of the pier. On the south side, because there's a more persistent beach there, there's not as much wave reflection off the structure. And so we think by pulling that structure back, I think it's going to have, very little effect on wave reflection south of the pier.
And is there been any consideration to perhaps, like, if you're building a foundation for something, right, you make it X size. If it was going to be so much higher, it would be so much bigger. Is there any consideration to the future making a bigger base so that 50 years from now, or if sea level rise occurs faster, that you would have at least an option to top it with an extra foot? Is there been any thought?
Yeah, there has been thought that, ideally, if we had permission and permits to elevate the wall in the future up to that 3.5-foot sea level rise scenario, that you would be modifying just the concrete structure on top, not having to drill more piles and that type of thing. So yes, that will be a consideration.
I really appreciate that kind of forethought. That's it for now.
Oh, and Vice Mayor, if I may, I know there's a lot of comments about the sand retention / reef concepts that were, so just to give people a reference on where this is in the alternative analysis, it's on section 3.5, page 25 and 26 of the alternative analysis report that's on the BBERB website for the major deliverables on the Phase 1 project. So just a little bit.
Could you say that reference one more time, please?
Yes, it is the major deliverables for Phase 1, and it is the alternative analysis report, pages 25 and 26. So in the report, it has a cost analysis for the beach nourishment plus sand retention of $111 million with life cycle cost of $235 million. So roughly, though, the reefs or the sand retention structures can cost upwards of $80 to $100 million. In our 35% basis cost estimates, the sand nourishment first placement is only around $14 million. So in order to protect something that is $14 million, it costs $80 to $100 million to put something in there to protect it. And as Aaron Holloway had mentioned, the upper end of it is on page 26 on how long it will last, is that the sand nourishment can last up to 10 years. If you have a retention structure, it might extend it to double that amount, so it might be 20 years, but it doesn't prevent sand from leaving.
So are you suggesting that there are no other axillary benefits to having a reef as opposed to not having a reef, such as capturing some of the wave energy further out before it comes in, therefore putting less pressure on the seawall structure, doing less damage to our coast?
So I think that I would have to defer to GHD on whether there is a huge benefit for that. But I will comment on a study that we are doing with the Army Corps, because we have our CAP 204 study with the Army Corps to place dredge material as sand nourishment on Beach Boulevard. And one of the studies that they're doing is that they're saying that with the installation of a sand retention structure or reef, although it retains some of it on the north end, it just prevents some of it from going to the south end of the site because there's only so much sand travel that's occurring over in this area.
That's a temporary condition, though, is it not? Because there's a sand river that travels down the coast perpetually.
That I would have to confirm with them on how, but they made it sound like it would just prevent sand from traveling, that you would get more in the north, but there would be less. There's only so much. That's my understanding from them.
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Anyone else have pressing questions? I have a couple of follow-up to Greg's. I have a long list of questions, but I'd probably rather wait till after public comment. You all too? Okay, just a couple to Greg's questions. So when you talked about the north wall maybe having about 5 years left, and then, well, do we know, I know we've been replacing bits and pieces, but Roland, do you maybe know, like, of the percentage of the length, you know, how much have we really replaced? Are we even up to half at this point?
So, as mentioned before, it's mainly the northern wall that has the breaches, and the main reason is because it doesn't have some foundation structure that is below it. It's just tiebacks. So, once the bottom of the walls get undermined, then all the soils just washes out. So, in terms of the panels themselves, that's the wall structures that you can actually see. That's what I'm referring to as the panels. We haven't really replaced those panels. What we've had to do is, when it washes out, we first need to plug the bottom of the hole, and we'll attempt to do it with what you call super sacks. They're just giant plastic bags with sand. So we'll plug the bottom of the hole just to allow us to plug the bottom up with concrete. And then we'll fill the rest of it up with what you call a slurry mix. And that's, it's kind of like concrete, but like less cement mixture in there.
Right, no reinforcing and...
Yeah, we won't be able to reinforce because there's shoring requirements for people to go into the hole. So it's just, yeah, we're just dumping a lot of concrete in the hole. It's basically the gist of it. And then after it's all cured, we'll put asphalt on the top. So that's the extent of our repairs that we have done since 2016, is just dumping a lot of concrete in the hole.
But of that length of the north wall, about how much have we repaired in this way?
So if you do 12 breaches, they range, if you rough number, around like 15 feet wide, 15 feet in length or so. Most of them are, and then so that you can get a rough length from that.
Okay. I don't know how long the wall is, but I can measure that later. And then just looking at the timeline, so we talked about 2 years for environmental review and permitting, and then 2 years for construction drawing and permitting as a minimum, but then construction period isn't included in that either, which I'm guessing is probably at least 2 years. So most likely we're not, you know, if the seawall has 5 years left, we're not going to make it, is what I'm hearing.
There has been, that's correct. If there's only 5 years left, I mean, we can continue doing these spot repairs. They roughly range close to the $60,000 every time it breaches, but we don't know if there's going to be a big one that's going to require the panels in the future. But you know, there were talks about phasing the project because it's so large, and possibly doing the north wall first because it's in worse condition. So that is a possibility as we head into the final design.
Okay. And I guess if we're seeing that we're having trouble finding funding or there's more delays, like it might make sense at some point to look at a remediation temporary fix for the whole length of the north wall. It seems to me it's cheaper to do things, you know, as a larger project than all the piecemeal where you have to get the subcontractors out each time. Anyway, that's for future discussion, not really for right now. Okay. I think, so why don't we go to public comment, and then we can come back and dig in a little bit more. Thank you both for your presentation and information. So far, I only have 2 cards. Is that right? So if anybody else wants to ask a question, make a comment, please fill out a yellow card in the back. So I have Jim Kramer, followed by Cindy Abbott.
Three minutes or 2?
3.
That's lucky. I always feel I have to prepare 2, and so I'll just relax, but I better get started. I'm Jim Kramer. I live in Shark Park. I've been involved in the coastal planning discussions in the city as a resident since about 2017 when some of the earlier work and planning was done. I appreciate the work that all of you are doing, both the city and the professional staff, but I'm going to push back again. I remain skeptical of our city's single-minded vision of long-term coastal planning. Wouldn't it be prudent to simultaneously develop alternatives to hard armor for the infrastructure protection in case the armor plan proves untenable? I know this could yet happen, and if that's being considered, I would strongly encourage we get onto that as fast as possible. They should be done together. When we reach these milestones and there's a new report to be discussed and you guys are being asked to approve something, I'm always at a loss as to what to comment about. I was not as involved as I have been on some of the details of this plan, but they are pretty familiar. But here's just a smattering of some of my concerns after reading the staff report, the city's report on Phase 2A. Number one, the forces threatening new wall failure do not all come from the ocean. Annual winter buildup of hydraulic pressure from the land side with heavy rains has to go somewhere. I think that's clearly the cause of much of the erosion that we have to deal with these days. My question is, how well known are the possible pressure or flow outlets for that landside hydrological pressure? Are some of these alternatives quite dire? Two, the Clarendon Gap is already a vulnerability. In the plan as presented to the public, the vaguely described, quote, transition to an earthen levee around the gap, around the Clarendon Gap seems to me to be a weak link. Is this 3 minutes, a minute to go?
A minute to go.
At a public workshop, GHD staff used the term nature-based. Didn't use it tonight. It's not just a question of semantics. It's not, these artificial dunes are on a hardened base and they seem unlikely to be self-sustaining, which is the reason natural solutions are desirable. Sand nourishment is a recurrent, expensive, and questionable, if not even essential part of the project. I worry that this is only in there to avoid public objections if the exposed rock apron were proposed. The fanciful picture that we were shown in the hybrid slides is clearly, the picture of the wide beach is clearly fanciful. Engineers do the best they can, and I respect this, but there's always an element of uncertainty in such plans, whether they're new or time-tested. Let us remember the San Diego County spent $17 million, and again, twice that, on sand renourishment in this.
Thank you, Jim.
And both projects failed within 5 years.
Thank you, Jim. Cindy Abbott? Anyone else? Bring up your cards.
Hello again, Cindy Abbott, 29-year resident now here in West Sharp Park. And I'm going to align myself with a lot of what Jim Kramer just stated. I really appreciate Mr. Holloway noting the tension and all the work that they've done to try to balance the input they've had from the community with an engineered project. And that's basically what this is, a huge engineering project with a pinch of not really nature-based solutions thrown in. And I think that's going to be an ongoing problem for us because here in the state of California, funding is not going to hard armoring because for decades, we've known that hard armoring always ultimately fails. So I think it's really important as we move ahead that we're looking, as Jim just noted, is there another plan? Is there another option? What else can we do? And the timing to do that is really good in the next year or two because we have those other projects that are required by the Coastal Commission of shoreline adaptation. And we really need to be looking at the big picture of the entire Pacifica coast, not just focused here, because this is not the only project. This is not the only failing area. It's because people want to have more development here in a hazard area that we're talking about this and spending probably what will end up being over $100 million by the time if this ever happens. But we've got problems in Manor. We have problems in the back of the valley. We have problems down in Lindomar. So how are we going to look at our entire city together as we develop how we want to spend a very limited budget? The North Wall is the place that since January 22nd, 2016, per the emergency declarations that you declare every month and have since January 22nd, 2016, is the area of the failures. Maybe by now, 10 years later, we could have done something about that instead of looking at this continued hard armoring. Is that a place that we need to be talking about? How to resolve the North Wall, because it's not a seawall, it's a reinforced earth retaining wall. So I think we need to pull out some new ideas as we're coming together with community engagement and really talking about all of this. And I look forward to doing that with all of you. Again, I really appreciate this, but we should also talk realistically about what plants are going to be there, or are we really just building a massive amount of cement on our coast? Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. I have two more cards, Kimberly Finale, followed by Tiger Jazz Big Stick.
Good evening, Mayor Bowles, council members. Happy New Year. It's great to see you all. I want to echo what another one of our community members expressed his gratitude for all of you council members, all of our community committee members. They truly are the backbone of this city, and it really keeps the thinking broad and positive, and it allows folks to really feel that they do make a difference and that their input is heard and appreciated. So I too want to thank you for your continued commitment to our wonderful democratic process. My name is Kimberly Finale. I'm a resident of Pacifica, and the first thing that I wrote down here, I wasn't going to even make comment this evening, but when the presentation began, for some reason, the first thing I wrote down, it was not really to be said out loud, it was just what came to my mind. I wrote down nature-based solutions. And that was the only thing I had on my page. And now, you know, after your presentation, thank you for that, you know, I realize what Cindy said is there was no mention of nature-based solutions in this update, and that is something that this community cares deeply about as a member of the City of Pacifica's Climate Action and Adaptation Plan Task Force. I can tell you for nearly 18 months that was what we were discussing, nature-based solutions. So it appears that over the course of 10 years from 2016 to now, we've spent $1 million in repairs to this seawall. And the updated Phase 2A, it sounds wonderful, it looks wonderful, but in reality, it's magical thinking. There are no funds in sight. What's our plan B? What's plan B? What are we going to do when this seawall, we're just a massive storm or two away from complete failure of Beach Boulevard and this seawall. I'm sure you all have read about Seal Cove, you know, just south of us. We need some long-term planning. Short-term fix, in addition to that, short-term fixes have a detrimental cost to the environment and sea life. All the concrete we're dumping in there, concrete is made with fly ash, known to cause cancer. Asphalt is oil-based, horrible for our sea life. So let's not get caught off guard. Let's begin some long-term planning now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Tiger Jazz?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. I'm Tiger Jazz, Twirls Big Stick of Pacifica. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. I truly came unprepared to speak, but the thoughts that occurred to me, aside from the long rant I'm suppressing about our federal government right now and that $50 million we could be using to protect our community, while the government instead seems to have its eye on piracy and raping the environment of every drop of oil it can get its hands on to the detriment of any actual person living in this country. Rant over. I really appreciate the questions that Councilmember Wright, Mayor Pro Tem Wright, asked earlier, especially around the concept of the living reef. I believe everybody on council has likely read the report that was written by the Army Corps dudes who live in Pacifica, Bob Battaglio, Bird Legs, George Domerat, our local harbor commissioner, I believe Kendall Fry, and one more. But the idea that if there were a living reef out there, even if we go ahead with this project of massive armoring, well, now we have a mitigation for the wave impacts that would extend that life. It would minimize perhaps some of the overtoppings. And I think actually these all being Surfrider alums, for lack of a better term, they had in mind the idea that it would actually bring in better surf for surfers, if that living reef concept. When I was up there with y'all, what occurred to me was, well, if we're going to get this thing done in a timely manner, because the point was not lost on me at the time that the clock's ticking to the tune of 5 years when it's going to take at least 6 to get the seawall up and running at this point. It seems pertinent to at least have an analysis of that methodology, what it would take, what the price tag is, what does it look like? Because to my mind, with the assumption in my mind, we need to get that protection in place or there's an entire neighborhood that goes out the window, never mind discussions about tax base. Once we're secure in that, we should have that other component which starts to go towards those more nature-based solutions to make sure we have longevity and that we are supporting nature. And in that vein, I'll echo what the last couple of speakers were talking about in terms of the more holistic view, as it seems like no one's saying that we don't need protection on some level in some way and probably sooner than later. So please follow up on that piece and see what it's going to take, because now's the time to see what it takes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any raised hands? Emily? No? So surprising. This is so important to so much of our community. Okay, with that, I will close public comment. And maybe we can start by asking some of the questions from the public. Can we talk a little bit about nature-based solutions? We know we're hearing, from the state, from funding sources. I think, actually, maybe you can elaborate. The Department of Boating and Waterways, I think, gave us some feedback on the first grant that we were not successful on for the next phase, that was something that they're looking for as well.
That is correct, Mayor. Most grants do request to see some nature-based solutions. But I believe for the Department of Boat, the main reason, though, was because they didn't award any new projects for that fiscal year.
Okay. But Erin, maybe you can talk a little bit. I know there are dunes as part of this project. Can you maybe explain a little bit more in that terminology? Do you consider, what?
Yeah, we're familiar with nature-based shorelines, and they are, popular, and they're always the first option for shoreline protection. The main problem is that they need space. Nature-based solutions can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To me, on an open coast, it means using sand, cobble, and dunes to provide a buffer against coastal hazards. But sand, cobble fluctuate widely. If you look at the kind of the beach width changes on a seasonal basis that happen at the south end, there's 100 feet or more of seasonal beach change. So that's the kind of space you'd need for that solution to work. To provide space for nature to work, you need that. We're talking hundreds of feet, which we don't have. At the south end, we've pulled the wall back. We've got, another 100 feet. So there's potential for a nature-based solution to work there. Does that include dunes or not? That may be a stretch. We can plant dunes and we could try to vegetate them, but I'm hesitant to commit to, a restored dune area because if that's the primary public access and recreational beach area, it may not be compatible with a restored dune. So that's kind of the trade-off, and that's kind of why, I don't want to try to mislead anybody by using the term nature-based solution, so we've kind of stuck with beach nourishment, and we think beach nourishment is going to be most viable. We looked into cobble, and due to the wave energy here, the cobble is going to need to be really big. It's going to look a lot less like cobble, a lot more like boulders, which then, if that's your shoreline, that's going to be hard to walk on. That's going to be hard to enter and exit the water with boulders rolling around. And so those are some of the trade-offs that we've struggled with in considering nature-based shorelines at this location.
Yeah,
And, sorry, Mayor Bowles, I wanted to comment. I can wait till you.
Well, I just remember from reading the detailed description, so right now you're calling it cobble on the south, but you're saying they're 12 or 18 inch. So they're not really walkable. Like I've been on the cobble beach at the harbor that was recently restored, that the coastal commissioners all went out and were very proud of that. And you can see the rocks, but they're little and you can walk on them, right? So, if that beach is really going to be usable as a walking surface for the public, the sand nourishment is a critical part of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we think, our conclusion at the end of this phase is that we think coarse sand is going to be the best natural material to place out there, rather than trying to come up with a cobble size that will be stable or dunes that may or may not survive.
Okay, but we don't know yet if that sand is available, right? That's part of the Army Corps study. Yeah, and in the budget right now, you have one beach nourishment in that, if I'm correct. That was $14 million for the initial. So if we need it again in 3 to 10 years, that's going to be a continual cost to the project too.
And that's correct. So the 35% cost estimate is only for one initial placement for $14 million. However, our goal is to include close to $30 million of operations and maintenance and get funded for that so that we can replenish the sand several rounds. Okay. So this is $30 million on top of the $80 million to construct the project.
Okay. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to comment from the perspective of funding and the fundraising strategy. It's true that in a lot of grant funding, requirements today, there's an emphasis on nature-based solutions. However, there's also a lot of dialogue in the state, as the council is aware, with the Coastal Commission about neighborhood-specific solutions that fit what that neighborhood needs. And, San Francisco just had a seawall project approved. There's other seawall, if you want to just call them that, projects approved. This is a hybrid. It's better than just a plain old seawall. And the decision is driven by the engineering needs, the infrastructure protection needs, and what the community, the neighborhood needs. And so I think it falls a little bit into, you don't design a project based on how you think you're going to be able to get funding. You design a project for what its needs, and then you go after that funding, and you figure that out. And so that's part of the perspective on this as well.
Sure. I understand that. I do think with San Francisco, they're funding it themselves, though. I'm not sure they've been able to get grants for their seawall. Anyway, that's something to find out about. Are there any other, I don't know, I hear, oyster reefs or, building habitat into seawalls. Is any of that more favorable to the Coastal Commission? What kind of input have you gotten from the Coastal Commission as to, how to guide the design in a little bit more favorable way? Because I hear a lot about nature-based solutions, listening to their meetings too, as, what they'd ideally like to see, as a first case if possible.
You know, what I recall hearing from coastal staff was mostly concerns about hard armoring and conflicts with coastal act policies. But the good news is I think a lot of that has been resolved with the LCLUP. I think it provides an allowance for protection of certain areas and kind of resolves the what's existing development, what's not. And I think the Coastal Commission appreciates that the promenade and access to the pier are really important coastal resources. And so that's kind of the trade-off as I read their staff report, you know, and that's kind of what we've heard from them. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about concrete materials, or is there a way to make anything more nature-friendly rather than just, you know, rock and concrete. We haven't gotten into those details yet.
Okay. Well, obviously, our community is very interested in whatever those options as you're refining your design, too. Sorry, going back to public questions, Tiger Jazz asked about the offshore reef, and I know a little bit about that, and that the One Shoreline is looking at taking on that project to look at the design and modeling, talking to UC Santa Cruz about doing some work, and it's sounding positive that they're able to get some funding. So again, it's totally separate from what they're doing here today, but that, as you mentioned, it could be something that helps dissipate that wave energy and holds the sand in place a little longer, and could be a benefit in addition to the work. And sorry, I'm just, Jim Kramer asked a very technical question that I thought about hydraulic pressure from inland. Do you see that as part of the problem? I'm sorry, sat on my mic.
I think groundwater, is that what you meant, Jim? Groundwater.
From groundwater and rain.
Rising.
Building
Right.
up. Thank you.
Can you comment about that?
Yeah, the wall design, it is, the pressures on the backside of the wall are important, and the structural engineers are looking at what is the water levels we can expect. And given the amount of overtopping that we would expect, and a rainfall event, and cracks in the promenade that would develop, the assumption is that it's saturated up to the surface. So it's kind of like that's baked into the calculations of what is this wall going to stand up. And so we kind of just assume the worst case.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to do it. And then the wall will be designed with kind of a drainage layer behind it with some weep holes to ideally relieve that pressure. But yeah, that's an important design parameter for sure.
Okay, thank you. So I'll open it up to council. I have a lot, but I'll go last. So, I think that's an old light from Greg.
No, mine's still on.
You're still on,
I'm just
okay.
trying to give
I'll
somebody
just go ahead and ask just a little random question from you. So how many grants, not only for this project, but for other projects, do you think you've had to apply for in the past year?
Sorry, I'm just trying to think for a second here.
A lot.
I mean, in terms of grant applications, the grants available for this type of project, they're actually not a ton. I mean, the slide that I showed for Department of Building Waterways and the Climate Bond Prop 4, that's kind of it in terms of the applications that we have attempted to get. In terms of exploring it, I mean, we have a grant consultant called Townsend, and we meet up with them every month to discuss grant opportunities, and we have to make sure that we're going to be competitive before devoting resources to go after some of these grants. But so in short, I mean, we really only had two.
For this project. So what I'm getting at is I want to thank you for your continuous work trying to find funding for our community. I see it, this grant didn't get funded, so then you apply for another one. And I know that this project is not the only thing that you have going on. So you and your staff. So I want to thank you for that, because I know how hard it is to apply for funding, and I know how hard it is to not receive that funding. And so I'm just very grateful.
Thank you.
So I don't have a question anyway. I just want to say thanks.
Thank you too.
I guess I would start my first question with Michelle. Do we have any experience on what happens when the ocean takes any of our houses, and does that cost us any money?
Perfect timing.
Ask it someone.
Well, yes, that does raise a lot of legal issues that there isn't, one answer. But, clearly the biggest exposure is inverse condemnation. It depends on how the overflow or topping, what was created with the event. And if it destroyed a street, there is a concern, and the property no longer has access. There's potentially a concern that that property has been inversely condemned. Now, there are arguments as to why that may not be the case. It's all, very fact specific. But that's the biggest legal issue that I, can see right now with a catastrophic event of that nature.
And do you have any experience have we spent any money on legal fees addressing any of these kind of things? For just, say, one property?
Well, we've had two properties that have, eroded the land around it and actually have fallen into the ocean. And then the property owner couldn't afford to raise the building. And so we had to step in order to save the beach and the environment. And we had to demolish. And that particular owner went into bankruptcy. And so we did not collect those.
And we spent money on legal fees, we spent money on doing the reclamation.
Yes.
So, and that's just on one property. How many properties, Kevin, roughly, do you think are exposed if we do nothing?
I'd actually ask Mr. Yip if he knows how many properties are along Beach Boulevard. I don't know, 30 perhaps?
Well, there's others that are already red tagged in other parts of town that are on the edge and over the edge.
I guess, and I assume that in the event that we were to abandon doing something to protect the shoreline, we'd have to take the street out, we'd have to take the sewer pipe out, we'd have to take out the water infrastructure, the soil around it's probably contaminated. By the time you add it all up, it's going to be more expensive than the seawall, would be the point that I'm trying to get to. I am very much in favor of doing a reef offshore to mitigate some of that wave energy that's coming in as a more nature-based solution that would then allow the river of sand to continue to flow from the north down to the south. I wouldn't even mind if there were some groins to slow it down a little bit on the way, to build up more sand on the beach, to give us more protection from those waves, in addition to the seawall, to protect us from those big storm events and buy us time to get those nature-based solutions in place at the same time. I was very impressed by our work of our bird legs and George and that stuff was wonderful. And have you guys considered applying for funding that would include something like the reef in addition to the seawall, or do you see it as two separate things? Is it one big problem or two separate problems?
So in terms of the analysis for the reef, there was very extensive studies that were done on phase one. And in terms of these alternatives, this is not the end with what has happened with the 35% design. We're going to have to do it again when we get into the environmental documentation. Alternative analysis is part of EIRs. And then also when we do the Coastal Commission permitting, we're going to have to look at our alternatives once again. So that's not, saying that it's not part of the project right now does not mean it's not going to be part of the project. So even right now with our CAP 204 studies with the Army Corps, they're looking into reefs because they can do shoreline improvements. The dredging is just a main component that has to be part of a CAP 204. But if we do have additional funds, they can fund shoreline improvements. But the max is $15 million, so unlikely to get a reef from the CAP 204, but they will study it though. So we will have all these additional studies. It's not going to be the end of the reef discussion just yet. And if we can get it funded with a grant, I mean, we'll be happy to apply for it. It's just right now we need some momentum and to get the construction funded, and we lost a big chunk of it by losing the BRIC grant. That was $50 million, because if you have 50 and you're asking for 30 million more, it's much easier to get project funded than someone who's going to give you like a quarter of the percentage and risk not getting the project off the ground. So we lost some momentum there. I did want to comment about the number of structures that are fronting Beach Boulevard for you, Vice Mayor. There's close to 30 structures that are directly fronting Beach Boulevard. In terms of the utilities and the costs and everything that's in the ground over there, that was part of a no project alternative analysis in the phase 1. And the number that is, for the life of the project, it can exceed close to $243 million. So that's why we were proceeding with the wall, because the wall is $80 million, and there's a benefit cost that is, that is there to justify the project, and that doesn't include property acquisition and eminent domain and legal fees that's needed to acquire some of these properties.
And Kevin, how much would we lose in property tax revenue for ad infinitum on 30 properties? We're talking millions of dollars. That would evaporate. And you were talking about cost-benefit analysis and things like that. I'm thinking about the reef as being a solution that's going to prevent us from having to spend $14 million to re-nourish time and time again. Would you not say that building a self-sustaining project once is better than repeating the same old thing again and again and again that's not working?
I think it might be helpful to see the graph from the alternative analysis if we have time for that, but it's page 26. Let me see. Did I send that to, sorry, I might not have sent that to city clerk, sorry. But the graph shows that you're only gonna reduce the amount of the sand nourishment by 50%. So if the cost of the sand nourishment is $14 million, if it costs you $80 million to do a reef, you can basically do close to 5 or 6 sand nourishments for that cost. And if they last for 10 years, then you have 50 to 60 years. Versus building the sand nourishment with the retention, you still have to do sand nourishment because the sand is still going to travel off of the northern side and still travel a little bit, and you still have to place sand there. It's just that instead of placing it every 10 years, you're placing it every 20. So that's the cost that we're looking at. There's also the wave energy in this area that is incredibly high, and that was something that the Army Corps commented when they visited our site, is that the wave energy is incredible out there. I mean, the waves are crashing onto the pier and damaging a concrete structure. So due to the wave energy, it doesn't make the reefs as cost effective because they may not last as well. And that's to be studied again, and it will get studied as we approach these other phases.
Okay, I guess that's all I have for now. I've monopolized enough.
Yeah, I have a question. So I know that we're thinking about something big, and I see that we only have 5 years left, maybe, and I see all the flooding. So is there a way that we can do something before it's too late? Because we're already late. We waited until we got 30 feet of ocean right on our neck right now. So, and we're trying to do something that is not sustainable. We don't have that money. That's the problem, to do what you guys presented today. So I was wondering, what can we do now that is not that expensive that can save us, or at least repair or not to get worse. Or, I'm afraid that if we don't do anything and wait, that things are going to get even worse. And the whole thing is the money. We don't have the money, or that kind of money. So I think we should consider doing something. It might not solve the whole issue, but it will kind of hold us to get where we need to get maybe in 5 years.
Through the chair. City manager, what have we spent on doing something this year so far on the wall?
You mean, what is the amount that we've spent?
Repairs or on-
Mr. Yip might have the estimates for the
That's something
recent
we're doing.
voids,
I think it's
but, yeah, I wanted in part to answer your question, Councilmember Espinoza, I wanted to make sure, because the 5-year number was thrown out there as the life of the seawall. I want to make sure that we don't go away thinking that there's only 5 years. So as Director Yip mentioned and Mr. Galloway, as there are breaches, we repair them. And then those repaired spots are stronger. And so the concept that there's just 5 years left in the wall, I think is a misconception about the wall. It's like when you're repairing your house, right? You just continue to repair it and it lasts longer. So it's an important point that we're not talking about the wall suddenly being gone in 5 years. The 2016 storms and breach was a very large one that really tore out part of the wall, and that's been repaired, and we haven't had, I don't think, any problems right in that exact repair spot. So again, incrementally, and Mayor Bowles asked a good question of sort of like, what linear footage have we been bolstered up in repairs? And we can kind of look at that and see what the percentage of it is. We can eke along with repairs, and since 2016, we've had to spend $7 million in breaches of the seawall and repairs, and we can continue to do that, but we need to be working very actively through these phases on a very big and large, complicated infrastructure project to get to the point of replacement of the wall, as well as all the other aspects of the project. So I think we are doing what we can do. There's no magical solution to prevent the overtopping and breaches that might happen. There's nothing that would do that. There's some concepts. Vice Mayor Wright has engaged with some vendors from conferences about some, flooding, some big plastic tubings that can be put out on a beach and help prevent some of the sand going up onto Beach Boulevard or flooding. And we could do pilot studies related to that, but I think a question there is whether it's going to really handle the intensity of some of the storms that we receive. So I don't think there's any easy, immediate solution. We're doing what we can do, and it's working to maintain and protect until this critical project really comes to fruition.
So meaning that we're okay right now. So we repair things as it goes. Is that right? And we have no, it's not, well, yeah. Okay, got it.
Just to follow up on that, I heard you say we hadn't gotten some money back from FEMA for some sand issues a couple of years ago. Are these emergencies something that we're just paying out of the disaster fund as they go, or are we able to get reimbursement from federal or state agencies?
Most of these breaches don't fall into the emergency FEMA reimbursement. There was the one storm, which is where we have numerous claims, I think, that are unresolved. But mostly it's paid out of the disaster accounting fund.
Oh, and if I may, there was a question about the cost per breach. So for this past winter, we had 3 breaches, and it cost roughly $180,000. That's just the contractor who worked on it, so a total of $180,000. And these are becoming more and more frequent since 2016. So we've had 12 breaches in 2016, but they're averaging around 3 a year for the past 3 years or so. So most of them are within the last few years.
And that didn't include any staff time or staff overtime or any of that,
Right.
correct?
Correct. It doesn't include the staff that needs to
opportunity
be out
cost.
there. Yeah, and we have to close off the site, we have to put on fencing, we have to manage the construction. It doesn't include any of that. That's just purely the contractor.
And it's typically overtime that we're paying to the staff for any of those mitigation issues.
Well, when it happens at
When it's
night.
happening at night,
Or over
for
Christmas.
example. When you have to close the street, when you have to cordon off a section of the street that fell into the ocean.
Correct. In terms of the field services staff, they're going to have to pay overtime. Correct.
Do you have any questions?
You know, we've talked about this so many times, it hasn't changed for me. I think all the discussion that we've had to date, the discussions that councils prior to the time I joined the council had on the subject, watching what happened in 2016, I think we're where we are tonight because of the work we've done. We've done the work because of the conditions of the wall. We've studied it. We know the north wall isn't a true seawall. I'm curious to hear more about the possibility of phasing and whether that includes that, I forgot what you called it, the workaround or the kind of U-shape around where the pier is. Does it include that and north? Or is it just from what's currently there north? That would be something I'm interested in hearing about. But the notion of what else can we do instead of this, nothing, in my opinion. I think we need to do this project. I think we need to plan for the longer future, but this project and getting this done gives us the opportunity to plan for the longer future. Right now, there is no support for us. I mean, the idea of letting go of 30 properties, we can't buy them out. There's been talk about a project through the state for a buyout, but it didn't go anywhere. So, I mean, I think we need to be reactive when things come around that are useful and beneficial. We need to give our input to the state legislators who are working on these things from our on-the-ground experience. But based on what I've seen, what I've looked at, what I've studied, the presentations we've had, seeing what's occurred and occurring every time we have king tides, it's a great, example. And we are just blessed when king tides are not in conjunction with high storm activity. It's when it's high storm, high waves, and king tides that, it's like this, right? Can you breathe for 3 days? Not really, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So for me, mitigations in this project, or I forgot what the word you used, the storm treatment that's built into this project is an improvement over what we have now to help get that water out, right? Right now, our system isn't ready for this. And so doing this project is how we get that taken care of. It's how we close the Clarendon gap. And maybe there's alternatives, but I know we have looked at quite a few alternatives in terms of cost benefit. This is the best one we came up with. So that's where I'm at. It's really discouraging to me that the funding is abysmal right now because we need it now. It's an emergency. There was an infrastructure meeting recently, and Sam Liccardo held, and I made that point strongly because it is an emergency. So we're continuing to work on encouraging him to work with his colleagues in Washington on the updated BRIC or the updated FEMA funding or whatever it is that might be forthcoming because we need it. So that's what I have. Anything you have on the phasing would be useful to me, but I don't even know if that's something you really have like much detail on at this point. Thank you.
And on top of that, I look forward to, as we move forward with the climate action plan and looking at nature-based solutions there, talking about the reefs. I mean, there's so many things that we can look at moving forward. We don't have any money. So,
Yep.
but that doesn't mean that we can't see what we can do. The information that was brought to us about the reefs was really interesting and helpful. And I mean, I know it costs a lot of money to do that too. But anyway, I look forward to those conversations along with everything that you just said, Councilmember Beckmeyer.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you both. Well, I'd like to ask a few questions. So going back to the projections, I guess, and trying to understand the project design, basis of design. You mentioned 2 feet of sea level rise, and that this was the intermediate OPC guidance. I don't know if
I think it's intermediate high, isn't it?
No, it's
it depends, because those are just curves. The intermediate is a curve, so.
Could you pull that slide back up, Sarah, please?
Yeah, that'd be easiest.
That's why it struck me as he said intermediate, so.
Yeah, the intermediate curve represents like the likely range of sea level rise. That's their best guess. And then intermediate high is if, things are worse. And then there's one above that, high, which is the worst case. Let's see.
And you had the horizontal lines.
We go, I think it's 3 or 4 slides before this one. Yep, there, that one.
Okay, this one,
Yeah, there we are.
So you're designing to the yellow line, which is the intermediate, which starts to be a problem in about 2075.
Yeah, so the yellow line exceeds 2 feet in 2080. The brown line with dots is the intermediate high. That exceeds 2 feet in that 2060, 2070 timeframe.
Uh-huh.
And the high, which is the blue with dots, that exceeds 2 feet in 2060.
Right.
So the idea is that on day one, we're going to have the most likely range of sea level rise over 50 years covered. And then if we end up being on the higher curve, then you have, steps you can go to. Maybe you can accept the risk of more flooding or more frequent flooding. And we're going to learn a lot over the next 30 years about, is the flooding tolerable? Are the drainage improvements really helping? And so you can make a more informed decision in the future to adapt to higher sea level rise.
Right. I guess one of my questions, and from what I've been hearing at the state level, they're really encouraging infrastructure projects to be designed to the intermediate high and not just the intermediate. So I know there's a trade-off between the views and, the height of the wall. But I mean, so if we're just trying to read the graph, and my eyesight's not great here, but in case we're at the intermediate high in 50 years, so that's almost 2 3/4 feet. So the project's not really being designed for that at this point.
But it's also the
could be
combination
added
of like storm event with sea level rise.
Right.
So we're talking about, an extreme storm event, king tide, big waves, plus 2 feet of sea level rise is kind of the design event. So we can also look at, a lesser design event, and you'll be able to tolerate 3 feet of sea level rise. But during that big event, you're going to have more flooding to deal with. So.
And I don't know if this is included in the OPC guidance yet, but, besides general sea level rise, we're seeing increased storms and increased storm intensities. And that's, just here within Pacifica, those images that you showed, we didn't have very much overtopping of the south wall, very often. But it's happened the last 3 years. Boom, 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 because we're getting more of these storms. And that's part of climate change too, right? The warmer ocean holding more water and bringing these increased storms. So has that been included in these projections and this planning, or is that still not really defined in the data and the science at the state level?
I don't know that it's not reflected in the OPC. So this is just solely a sea level rise focused document. Okay. But our analysis does account for, the extreme wave activity that we've observed recently. And I know there's been wave height records have been broken in recent years. So there does seem to be some very energetic storms.
Right.
So.
And besides the flooding, it's also a hazard, right? We're having to close Beach Boulevard. It's dangerous for pedestrians. I've seen people knocked off their feet or blown into buildings. I mean, and we're not really fixing that, right? In these high overtopping events, those will still be, I mean, we see the waves breaking over the pier, the chit-chat structure, right? So at least 20 feet high. And we're talking about maybe 4 feet higher of the wall. So I'm just trying to get a sense for us and for the community of what we can expect and what, how much are we fixing, what hazards are still there in this area even after this is built.
Yeah, I think you can definitely expect splash over the wall during those big events, even if we raise it up 4 feet. What we sometimes, coastal engineers will call it like green water versus white water. What we're trying to prevent is the green water. That's where you almost have a whole wave coming up onto the wall, and that's the type of wave that's going to carry all that debris, the sand, the gravel, in addition to the flooding amount. And so that's what we're really trying to knock down. But yeah, you can see how high the waves splash up when they hit that wall. So
Right.
we're going to have splash up and over that.
Okay.
We can expect that to continue.
And just because we're fixing the north wall, and that is where most of our issues are, but we're seeing more flooding on the south end. If we end up doing a phased approach, has there been any analysis of whether the south wall can be increased in height without necessarily replacing all of that if we have to phase the project?
We have not looked at kind of an interim condition where the north wall is replaced and then the south wall is kind of left and maybe improved, but it could be worth looking at. The main issue, as you all are aware, the north wall does not have a foundation. So it's really hard to do anything on
It's not a
that doesn't
seawall,
have a
right?
foundation. The south, at least there's a foundation, and so maybe there's some upper level improvements that would be cheaper to do.
Okay.
And still, improve flood protection.
And then the drainage north of the pier is all gravity drainage out the wall the way it is now, but bigger drains that can hold more capacity. South of the wall and at the Clarendon Gap, you were talking about still using the existing pipe, which I think sometimes is below the sea level, right? So what are we planning there in terms of water management now, or is that a whole separate project that's not really included in this right now?
Yeah, well, I kind of, Roland can speak to this probably better than I could, but I'm going off the storm drain master plan that identified, a need for a pump station down there eventually. I don't remember the details of that, but that's kind of what I'm envisioning as the long-term solution there, is that you have to have a pump station to be able to get all that water out because, like you said, gravity is just only so limited.
Okay.
So the Clarendon pump station is a project in our capital improvement program. We just need to get funded. Currently, right now, there's a temporary pump out there.
Right.
It is a low spot in the city, so we during big storms, we do have someone manning it and pumping water out.
But it has very limited capacity, so it takes, I mean, I know it took several days, when there was flooding a couple years ago, right? It's not a great solution. Anyway, so that's another cost. Again, the seawall's not going to solve all of this in your project. That's what I'm trying to understand. There's still work that needs to be done. Okay. And then, so I know sand levels vary over the course of the year. Do you have a range of, we see this more obviously on the south wall. It seems like the levels have been higher the last couple of years. I was told they tend to go down in the winter, the sand moves offshore and then come back in the summer. But what kind of height difference are you including in your designs right now?
Yeah, and I guess some of the topography we have out there and just visual observations, the beach on the south end is kind of ranges from like 20 to 22. And I know we've seen in some of those extreme events, larger waves and high water levels will push sand higher up on the beach. That's kind of the beach's natural way of dealing with those events, is it piles sand up higher. So that's, in those cases, the sand was piled up to the wall and over it and past it. And so that's kind of something you do observe it was unique during those big storm events. So yeah, like you said, the typical seasonal variation is big winter waves pull sand offshore, small summer waves push it back onshore. But then there's also interesting dynamics that happen during those big events that we observed. So the design would be to have the bottom of the wall, at 20 or below, and then the top of it at, 28, at the south end, so that you do have that, the ability to accommodate the varying sand levels.
Okay. And I was pleased to see stairs, which I think when we were doing the public outreach, it just looked like a single step off right off it. But obviously, you're going to need stairs when the sand levels are low to be able to access the beach. What about handicapped access? I didn't see any ramps to the beach itself in the design. I know the San Francisco put in one, on the berm that they had to build twice. But is that a requirement? Is that something that might be, modified?
Yeah. So at the south end, we have a ramp built in to that kind of central picnic beach access area, but we don't have a ramp going out onto the sand. But that could be something we add.
Okay.
Ideally, it's, I don't know if you've seen it, but they call I think one of the products is like a Moby mat, and it's just for accessibility across sand. So ideally, there'd be enough sand there to just have kind of a Moby mat that kind of just goes out from one of those access ways.
But I'm guessing when the sand levels are low, you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
then, right?
yeah, it's probably like a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
It's installed, for the summer season. But.
So I would think with handicap accessibility regulations, we're going to need to modify one of those to have a ramp down. Something to look at.
I know the Coastal Commission was pretty taken with the one that San Francisco installed at the berm. And that came up in discussion with our local coastal land use plan, because even though we didn't build it, it was a feature of accessibility that was commented on.
Yeah, and I've seen families with strollers and all that too, right?
Exactly,
They're just carrying a bunch of stuff out.
Their wagon.
And then the other thing I didn't see, and I'm not on the plans when I looked at the detailed ones, and I'm just curious if we need vehicle access out to the beach. Like some of these boulders might need to be replaced at some point, or you have an emergency condition, the fire department needs to send out a particular vehicle or something. What are the thoughts about vehicular access to the beach beyond the wall?
Yeah, a lot of the armor stone it can be replaced from, a crane or a piece of equipment from the promenade side. But if a vehicle had to get through there, then I don't know. We could look at sizing one of those beach access ways 12 feet instead of 6 feet or something like that. So that's an option. But I think that would be I
think that might be helpful. And I don't know, Roland, if I think in the past we used to manage the sand levels a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, right? If they get too high, that we might take a bulldozer out there so that, because, as the sand levels are higher, especially in the winter, then you're going to get more overtopping and more sand washing over. So I don't know if there's maintenance, long-term required as part of the design, that we need to think about those vehicles too.
Yeah, we can definitely coordinate with JHD on the vehicular access out there, yes, but we do get the coastal development permit to move sand around, and we do need to get it approved to have vehicles out there as well.
Okay. And then I'm guessing you're on your next phase, and do we have a cost estimate for your services, for how much are we actually looking for in funding for your work in the environmental permitting?
Yeah, we have a proposal for all of the all phases, I think, we prepared. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I think 2.5 million for the
2.5
next
million, okay.
phase for the environmental.
And that's what we've been applying for in the grants, I know, okay. And will you be modeling the wall and like understanding the sand and the nourishment cycles in a little bit more detail as part of the next phase?
I don't know how much we'll get into that with the environmental document, but with permitting, we certainly will. Yeah, there will be some more advanced analysis as we kind of go back and forth with the permitting agencies, answer a lot of their questions, and then, get more into the hydrodynamics about, does the project have any effect on adjacent shorelines and communities and that kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, that will be a
That's part
subject.
of permitting?
Yeah. Well, actually, that's I think we're going to be looking at that as part of the environmental document.
Okay,
The
thank
impact
you.
to adjacent shorelines.
Yeah, I think you had said that before, and yeah, I was concerned about potential impacts to the berm that San Francisco owns, and then also to the Shoreview neighborhood in the north. Right, okay. Let's see. And on the north end, I don't know if you can pull up your detailed plan. I didn't see any dimensions. So I wanted to make sure that there was still vehicle and fire department access to 1567 Beach Boulevard, which is the vacant site that we have a current application.
Yeah, so we've made sure there's enough room there for vehicle access. We haven't reviewed it with the fire department, but we're aware that that is a need there. So,
Okay, yeah, you'll look at that in the next.
Yeah, as we finalize design, we'll have to get those dimensions, make sure they're all up to code.
Okay, great. And then just in terms of budget, so are those numbers in today dollars, or are they actually, projected 5 years down the road when we'd actually be building it?
I don't think there's escalation to the construction date. I think they're today, present day dollars.
Okay, so those numbers will go up, okay. And it doesn't include any borrowing costs. Obviously, that would have been a separate line item. Okay. And then I know there was talk before about the existing south wall perhaps remaining in place and kind of building this over it, but I see on the current drawings that you're proposing to take it out. It would be super helpful to see the existing wall with the new wall in the section dashed in or so the next time. Because obviously if we can keep it in place, that's money we don't have to spend on demolition.
The south wall?
The south wall, yeah.
The south wall is moving back.
I know, but we're building up with the cobble and with the sand so that it might be covered.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we don't necessarily need to take it out and then.
Oh. Or all of it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we have.
Okay, and then I appreciate that you've been looking at our new local coastal plan updated version. And it seems, you've said that it seems this helps the approvals. Obviously, we have some shoreline protection with these special shoreline resiliency areas here that are for a period of 20 years. Obviously, the seawall has got a longer life than that. Has there been have you discussed this with the Coastal Commission since the LCP was approved?
No, we haven't met with them since then, but I think that's something that we will work through as part of the CDP is what does this look like in the future? Get it a lot about the sea level rise, what do the risks look like? What if this scenario happens or that scenario happens? So I think, yeah, there'll be a lot of
Okay.
time on that.
And I know, Councilmember Beckmeyer and I have been talking about the Coastal Commission, in approving the SSRAs, saw those as a way to give us time to do the long-term planning because they're really concerned about the sewer lines running in the street along here. So it's not that we're just building a seawall to protect those. We still have to look at moving those, as a longer-term plan too. So I just wanted to make that point. Yeah. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you so much for your time and expertise, and really appreciate you being here tonight. Are there any last questions or
One
comments?
last question. When I can't sleep at night because there's some question about this stuff that's keeping me up, what's the best way for me to route a question to you for an answer?
Through Roland?
Through Kevin, through Roland.
Email.
Send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so there's no action on this, but we appreciate the presentation and the update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roland.
Can I suggest a break, please? Thank you.
We need to,
Just the recommendation is to accept the report, so if we could have a motion.
Oh, we need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. So
So moved.
second.
please call for the vote.
Excuse me, I'm going to use my.
It's my button.
Oh, wait, I'm pushing the wrong button.
Thank you for coming out.
Point of personal privilege.
I was going to say it, but.
Waiting for one more vote on this one.
I'm sorry?
Waiting for one more vote.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't
press
think I
again.
voted.
And I heard the motion made to accept the report by Vice Mayor Wright, and I think I heard Councilmember Bier second. Is that correct?
Either
Or-
me or Sue.
Oh, you can give it to Mary.
Oh, thanks.
There were a few voices I heard at the same time.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break and be back
vote
at
is unanimous.
5 till
Let her finish.
9.
Well done.
Okay, Mary, you get to go first.
I gotta find my agenda. I have too much paper on my desk.
See, that's exactly how my desk used to always look too.
To Sarah, yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone.
Right, well, meeting is back.
You ready?
The meeting's back in session. Are you
PCT, are you ready?
Marty, hi, thanks for being here today.
Thanks,
Okay.
Marty.
So we're on to our last agenda item, item 9, the City Council Liaison and Committee Assignments. City Clerk Coffey, would you like to present the staff report?
Mayor and council members, each January, the council reviews the city council liaison assignments to committees, commissions, and regional bodies. And the current assignments are listed in the attachment in the packet, attachment 9A. And some of the agencies listed are city committees and commissions to which council members have a primary and sometimes an alternate assigned to attend those meetings. There are also agencies listed here that the council does not determine the council liaison, that they're appointed by the city selection committee, for instance, or by the body that's listed or another body, and those are indicated with an asterisk. So at this time, those would be for informational purposes for the council members assigned by another agency to that agency. For those that are the council designates, at this time, the council would review those assignments and advise if there are any additional assignments to be made or if there are any amendments to the assignments that are presently indicated. The council at this time may wish to discuss some that I've highlighted in the staff report. One is there is a designated council liaison that is not a voting member, but just an observer assigned to observe the North Coast County Water District board meetings, which are held on the third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. And that was a designation that was voluntarily made by council in January of 2023. So just to note that in that case, the member is not a voting member of that body. And the council may wish to discuss whether that assignment would like to continue forward. As the third Wednesday of each month, as you know, is fairly impacted with both city and regional body meetings. The attachment A, also 9A, also lists city ad hoc, city council subcommittees that were formed during 2025, for which most of which have concluded. The one outstanding ad hoc city council subcommittee is for the purpose of advising on the city manager recruitment process. The council also may wish, as you know, with the impacted third Wednesday of each month, council members that are assigned to city committees and commissions as liaisons at times have difficulty in attending some of those meetings because you can't be two places at the same time, unfortunately. So the council may also wish to discuss the expectations of the council liaison to city committees and commissions and whether that the expectation would be attendance at every regular meeting or if there would be some more flexible attendance, such as attending quarterly, those meetings quarterly rather than every regular meeting, in order to help to balance the commitments for council members. Also, the council may wish to look at whether they would like to continue the practice of appointing both a primary council liaison to city committees and commissions and an alternate in the event that that primary liaison is not able to attend. And with that, that concludes the staff report for this item. I'm welcome any council questions prior to getting into the process of reviewing and deliberating on the liaison assignments.
Thank you very much, Sarah. One minor correction, there is another ad hoc committee that just formed of Greg and I for the review of the Beach Boulevard Hotel proposals.
Oh, yeah, we just did that one. And I don't know if we need to put city manager search. I don't think we have any more work to do separately, do we?
I don't know.
No, probably not.
No. Any decision on additional ad hocs or role of the ad hoc will be undertaken throughout the process, through meetings, closed sessions, things of that nature.
Right, so we don't, yeah.
No,
So there's no
we would
point
not,
in
we would not
listing.
discuss that here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest that we take public comment first, and then maybe we go through these questions that Sarah posed before we go down the list, because that might help lighten our load and think about things a little bit more differently as we go through them. So any comments on that? Is that okay? Okay. So with that, I'll open public comment. I do not currently have any cards. If anyone wants to speak in the room, please, you can come to the microphone now and fill out a yellow card afterwards. Or Emily, do we have any?
We have one raised hand. It is for Calvin Chan.
Okay, great. All right, please go ahead, Calvin.
Good evening, City Council members, City staff, and City Manager. My name is Calvin Chan. As the Vice President of Pacifica's Youth Advisory Board and Terra Nova Student Council, I'm one of many youth who cares deeply about our city, its future, and our youth community. I wanted to thank you for your support of Pacifica's Youth Advisory Board and to thank the Youth Advisory Board members and the staff that maintains this wonderful board. For context, the Youth Advisory Board's mission statement is as follows: to act as a liaison to the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission within the youth and teen population, especially related to incorporated programs and duties of the city. It serves as a tool to familiarize youth with the city government. It assists in minimizing or resolving community problems relating to youth. It gives advice and assistance on the matters concerning the needs of the youth and serves as the formal voice of the youth. I think our Youth Advisory Board has been excellent in planning, promoting, and assisting safe events and activities for Pacifica youth and teens, with much thanks this year going to our wonderful PBR staff advisor. However, our ability to minimize or resolve community problems relating to youth and to give an advice and assistance on matters concerning the needs of the youth, to basically serve as a formal voice of the youth, is limited because we are not connected with City Council. Having a City Council liaison for our Youth Advisory Board will help inspire us youth and allow us youth to provide input on the needs of our youth community. As City Council continues its work in addressing Pacifica's needs now and in the future, our youth community would love a chance to have our voice formally heard. Let's work together to improve the lives of Pacifica's youth today and create a better, cleaner, more beautiful city for generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Really. City Clerk Coffey or staff, do we know when the Youth Advisory Board meets?
I think he just said it, but I didn't write it down.
I think he, let's see.
I don't know.
I don't know when they meet, and I didn't catch it if he did say it.
I thought he said it. Anybody?
I believe it's the first and third Wednesdays. I think they meet twice a month. I'm not totally sure, but.
Third Wednesdays are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do they meet in the evening, or do they meet in the afternoon?
Evening, okay. Okay. City Attorney, can I just clarify if that might be a position that a council liaison that we want to add? Is that something that we can discuss tonight?
Yes, so long as we're not creating a new committee, the committee already exists, you can actually appoint a liaison member to an already existing committee, even if it's not on this list.
Okay, great, thank you. Sorry, I forgot to close public comment. Or you want to make a comment? Okay.
Mayor Bowles, it looks like we do have one in-person comment.
Okay, please go ahead, Kimberly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bowles. Last-minute comment here. After listening to our youth community member, Calvin Chan, call in with his comment, I would like to give my full-throated support to having a youth liaison to our Pacifica City Council. I think it's an excellent way to get a broad variety of opinions from local youth, and what a way to encourage their engagement with the city's democratic process. I can't even begin to imagine the learning and the growth that will take place among the youth and the partnerships that could be developed as a result of a partnership like that. It gives me chills to think of the possibility, and if there's anything that I can do to support that eventuality, I am all in, because I just can't, working with youth on local government issues has been a great pleasure of serving this community and working with this community. And so if there is anything that City Council can do to support that and make it happen, I can't even imagine the positivity that will come from that. Thank you so much for giving this consideration. It's an amazing, and I want to thank Calvin for calling in. I'm so proud of him. So thanks, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kimberly. And I think I see Tiger. Jazz Big Stick would like to comment also.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll fill in a card afterward. Tiger Jost Rolls Big Stick of Pacifica. And I wish to thoroughly echo the last two speakers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, that's exciting. Okay, so closing public comment and bringing it back to council.
Mayor Bowles, if I may, from the Youth Advisory Board application, the Youth Advisory Board meetings are held every second and fourth Wednesday of each month from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m.
6 to 7?
6 to 7, second and fourth Wednesday.
Okay. And where do they meet? Or maybe that should stay private and we can tell whoever.
Right. Community center, I think.
Oh, that's true. They're all open to the public.
It's at the community center.
Yeah, at the community center. Okay. Just trying to protect our kids, but you're right. Those are public meetings. Okay. Are there any questions before we start? If not, I thought we'd just go down the list that Sarah mentioned. So one question was on the North Coast County Water District, the observer seat. I know that was set up a few years ago when there were some communication challenges. So Sue and Greg currently are in that role now. Do you feel that that is a valuable role that should continue?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's easy.
I mean, you know, if there's 5 meetings on a Wednesday, right, and we're going to have to prioritize some, then that would have to happen. But I think if there's someone available, it's very important to keep that relationship as tight and as respectful as we can, and that's the best way to do it.
I agree.
100%.
And I saw Ann here at our meeting tonight doing the
Yeah,
same.
she's always here.
And then she tunes in at home when
Yeah.
she leaves.
Okay. And then there was the discussion about possible changes to the expectations for liaisons of city committees that we, one suggestion was that we only need to go quarterly, maybe report in to the chair or ask questions to the chair. Do we feel it's important to be at every meeting every month of every committee? And if not, does it need to be a formal process or something a little looser that we're not always expected to necessarily be there?
I'd like to make a comment about that. I know, particularly on the third Wednesday, there are times I'm supposed to be in 4 places at the same time. And I feel like I do a disservice, frankly, to OSPAC, because typically the local thing gets tabled for the regional measure, and I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. If you change the expectation, that might change how I look at it. Right now, I feel like I'm having to make choices that I don't like to have to make.
Totally understand. Yeah.
Well, guess what? I freed up my Wednesday nights just for you, Greg.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary. You got the Wednesday for the whole year.
Mary, Mary.
So,
Take off.
thank you, Mary. So we appreciate you being willing to take on that role. And I
It's
know
not
even
that I don't like USBAC or respect
No,
what they
no.
do. I love what they do.
But there's a lot of important things that happen on Wednesdays, and is it okay if I just chat right now? Is that okay with you? The Fog Fest, for one, is actually really important. So I've been communicating with Rihanna, the co-president of the Fog Fest, and asked if maybe at their retreat this weekend, which they're having a retreat meeting all day long at the Pacifica Library on Saturday. From 9 to 3, I believe, at the Pacifica Library. That perhaps they can talk about maybe changing it to the first Wednesday or a different day of the week, just because I wasn't able to go to any of the meetings last year, none of them. And I know I just put my name on it because we needed someone to put our name on it, but that is not good enough. The Fog Fest deserves us to be there consistently, because it's really, really important. So, having said that, she's going to let us know.
Okay. Any other thoughts about city meetings and, whether, do we need an alternate? Do we, is the expectation that we're at every meeting? Do we need to set certain expectations?
Well, I'll just speak for myself on the Library Advisory Committee. There have been a few instances where I haven't been able to go, but Sarah is our staff person, so I check in with her, check in with the chair, and it's been okay. So I guess to the point of not being at every single meeting, we're working it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'd say about it, but that's
that's
how,
that's
from my
good.
point of view, that's how we've managed it.
I also feel like we're doing double duty around here, and I don't think any of us have time for that.
Yeah.
And so, and it's happening in a couple places. One is EDC, where we have 2 regular members who are supposed to be there all the time. I frightfully was not good at that. So thank you, Myra, for being at EDC so much. But I don't think that's necessary. And then Greg and I are both on BPAC. While I think it's great, I do think that that we both don't need to be on it. You do. But you see what I mean? Is we're doing.
It gets us 2 votes, though.
Yeah.
They do allow us 2 votes, but.
And it brings in money
Yeah.
to our city that needs money.
You're so energetic about your role on council right now. I love it. And I'm like, you can have
the corollary to bad peeing.
Councilmember Beer, for the BPAC that is appointed by that body, so.
Yeah. There's that one, and also Heart, which I wanted to talk to you, Sarah, because I have to step down from Heart, unfortunately. It's 3:00 in the afternoon meeting on a Wednesday, and I have my youth meetings, which I am now in charge of transportation. I drive the big van.
Oh, boy.
Youth meeting.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I'm going to have to let go of that, and I'm really hoping that someone can pick that up. Because we need to be there. It's very
Aren't you in
important.
Heart?
No, I'm her alternate for the finance subcommittee. I think we should go down the list in order.
Okay. I think that's all I
So,
needed to say.
okay.
Oh, and thank you to Calvin. Yay, Calvin.
Yeah. Hey,
Well, I
Calvin.
think thank you to you, Mary. Thank you to you. Thank you to you. Thank you to you for all the service that you did this whole year on the committees you served on, whether you keep them or not.
Yeah, I agree. And I thank you all for meeting with me individually, before Christmas and over the weekend. I think we are all tired, right? And so, this is a lot. Just being on council and being prepared for these meetings is a lot, and meeting in the community, and then all these other committees too. So whatever we can do to lighten our load and help each other and not have duplication, I think and to give ourselves a break, to not feel like we have to be at everything. So back to the conversation about the local committees. I mean, I know I've missed a couple of emergency preparedness because I had Emergency Services Council, which was on the same day, you know, just every other month. But they've now moved those to Thursdays. But what I tend to do is, if I have some comments, send them to the chair ahead of time, right? So, I mean, our job is to inform them of what's going on at the council that might affect theirs. So that kind of communication can happen without us necessarily being there, and then the chair can, you know, report back to us if there's something that happens at the meeting that we need to know. So my feeling is, I mean, I still want to try to go to most of the meetings, but I don't want to feel guilty about it. But I don't feel like we need to have rules that we only need to go quarterly or something like that.
I don't think we need to have rules either. I think we do need to check in, right? Because so much happens, and I know, especially with OSPAC, in my experience with OSPAC before, like they ask for stuff, right, from us. And so there's that piece too that I don't want to miss out on. But I agree with the feeling guilty thing, because that's not helpful.
Yeah.
I would like to have it be a suggestion that you reach out to somebody else on council to see if they can fill in, if it's possible. I'm not saying that it has to be done, but.
Yeah. I've done that, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that is why we have alternates, right?
Yeah. And so you want to keep alternates for the city committees too? If it's possible, maybe not on the third Wednesdays. Yeah. Okay, and then EDC, what are your thoughts? I heard from Mary that she doesn't feel that we need 2 council members. I'm not sure how that started. Myra, Sue, we're not talking about who's on it, but just whether we need to.
What's the history? It started because there's a budget for EDC, and because economic development was a high priority for the council, and we wanted to support its whatever, growth or something, right? Is that what you remember, Mary?
Yes.
Is it still
I
necessary?
think that started with Mr. O'Neill, right? With you and Mike, right?
Right. And also, we haven't always had economic development staff in place. There have been gaps over time. Like, remember when Lorenzo filled in for a time, you filled in for a time, so there was some of that going on too. That's not true anymore. So there's that.
Yeah.
Because our staff liaisons are, you know, certainly part of this picture, as I said, about Sarah with the library one.
Yeah.
So, that's why it's how it
Okay,
started. That's why it was that way.
Yeah.
Myra, what are your thoughts?
I do want to stay maybe for this year because
Mike?
I have, you know, I have some ideas.
Yeah, we're not talking about, we're just whether you need 2 people is the question.
Oh, I don't think we need 2 people, no.
I don't either.
Okay.
No, 1 is good enough.
Okay, great. That's one load we can take off of one of us, so. Okay. Well, let's go down the list. And I'll just read each one. And so the ABAG General Assembly Delegate, are you okay?
Happy to serve.
Keeping that? And Sue, are you okay being the alternate?
Yeah.
And if anybody else is like dying to take one of these positions, please, you know, we can switch things around too. So if there's something of particular interest that you're passionate about, you know, please feel free to speak up as we go. The Airport Roundtable, I'm not loving it, but I'm willing to keep serving if you would like me to in that role. There's less work that we're going to be able to do because the federal government is not helping there either. But the work that we're starting to talk about is creating planning documents and recommendations around the advanced air mobility, air taxis, and so forth for all cities. So it's kind of an important planning issue. I don't hear anybody jumping in, so I will stay there. And Sue, you're the alternate, but I'm not sure if,
You've never asked me. I've never been. I
think
I
I
can
asked
stay on
once,
if you
but-
need me to. I can,
Uh-huh.
but yeah.
Okay, okay, well, I'll keep you on if you're willing to be the alternate.
Sure.
And then the CCAG representative, I know you wanted to.
I would like to stay on that.
Okay, and,
I would like to continue as alternate.
I hear you guys have been carpooling together and you have different committees that you switch back on, so that's awesome to have that time together.
I'm on
That's
Ledge
good.
Committee and Bike Bed.
Okay. So the Colma Creek, so I've been the representative and you've been the alternate, and we've both been going, and I know we both wanted to build the relationship with One Shoreline. Colma Creek has very little to do with Pacifica. There's a tiny bit of watershed off of Skyline. I don't feel like I need to go anymore. If you are
I'd be happy to serve.
interested, would you like to be the primary, and then I can be your backup if you can't go?
Perfect.
Okay. You got that change, Sarah? Okay. The Emergency Services Council, I'd like to continue on, and I'm on one of their subcommittees too. You used to go, but I'm not sure you can go now if you have a conflict, right? It's the third Thursdays now. It's not the Wednesdays. We moved it to
Yeah.
Thursdays.
So if it's Thursdays, then I'd like to.
Okay, you can be the
Remain
alternate.
the alternate.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so Fog Fest, we don't know, but
She said she's going to try to ask for a Tuesday.
okay.
And
Well,
so if that's the case, I'm happy to stay, unless you want to do it, Sue.
It's okay.
A little too close to home.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think it's good to have you in.
Yeah, if they can change the date, then I can, but if they can't, say they can't, then who will step up?
It's the third
The
Wednesday.
third Wednesday.
Yikes.
I don't know if any of us can. So-
Right.
And Myra works, right, the third Wednesdays or Wednesday nights. You work, right, Myra?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's try, yeah. We can discuss it again if they don't change it, but, okay. And then the next one is the Heart, which is for budget review. And you were saying this isn't really something you've been going to separate from?
I've never gone to that. I've never attended that.
So Sarah, would
I
you
go to
mind
their
just-
regular meeting, I've never attended
Would you
that.
mind checking if that's something that's actually a requirement then, to have a council member representative?
For Heart, this is the member agency committee, which has a representative, which they meet, I think, just usually once a year for the budget, and it's usually, they have a representative from each of the cities in the county.
Okay. Mary's saying she hasn't been, but I mean, we can.
I'm happy to stay.
We can leave it on if it's.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I'm happy to still be your backup for that, not having had to go to.
Okay.
to them either. Okay, and then the Hope one has been dissolved, so we're taking that one off. The North County Fire Authority, Myra and Greg both, are you okay staying on
But
that?
there's two,
Yeah, there are 2 seats for each city.
Oh.
It's just a.
And Myra's the chair, so
oh,
it
nice.
might be
You
good.
are.
if-
You are the vice chair.
Well, we didn't even know
Nominated
that.
us the first day we were there. I was like,
Well, good for
Way
you,
to go,
leadership at the
Myra.
county level,
Put your
or
feet in the
at the
fire.
regional level. Good for you. Okay, well, thank you both. So, and then the North County Water District, I think, so Greg's been the primary and Sue the backup. I think Sue's been going more than Greg because of your Wednesday conflicts.
So maybe we should switch that, make Sue primary and me secondary?
Yeah, if you like, that's fine.
And I'll take us back when you get there.
Okay. PCT, Myra, are you okay continuing with that? Great, thank you so much. The Beach Coalition, I'm happy continuing. I'm happy letting someone else. There are some new things that are coming up. So I'm hoping to open my schedule up a little bit more, but it's on the second Tuesdays at 6, and they meet on Zoom. And so usually I just give a comment updating them on what work the city is doing in the coastal area for, 10 minutes at the beginning, and then I just listen in from home. So it's not a big commitment.
It's the second Tuesday. I'm the second one, but then Tuesday I am at economic development. If someone else doesn't, oops.
Is that,
When is that one?
oh, you're right, that's the second Tuesday too. Okay, so you can't go. Okay, well, I'll keep it unless anybody has a burning desire. They're all wonderful people. Okay, the Pacifica Resource Center, Greg.
I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to swap places with you, whatever you.
I'm happy letting you continue. I still meet with Anita once a month on other things.
I'm happy to be the alternate.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's that second Wednesday thing, though.
Yeah, but this is the third Wednesday. That's so busy.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, the second and fourth one. Oh, but if I want to do the youth,
It is Zoom.
never mind. I take that back.
Okay. You can leave me in. I mean, Greg has gone to all of them. He's never asked me, so.
If the youth advisory is second and fourth,
I see that.
I could do the fourth thing.
Okay, we'll get to that one in a minute. Okay, Pacifica School Volunteers, Mary.
The timing of that is actually incorrect. It meets monthly. It's on the first Monday, and it's at 5:15 by Zoom.
And that's all.
And I think
That's all
we'll
we're
keep
saying.
it as it is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you both. I'm happy keeping Peninsula Clean Energy.
I can be the alternate, but I did pick up bike ped because you went every week
Uh-huh.
or every month.
I did miss the one at Christmas, but you
Right,
didn't have that
but I
one.
went.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I'm just saying that.
So is Bike Ped the same time as this?
Yes,
But Mary's on Bike Ped, right?
But they both are.
but we both.
That's what I mean. So Mary can go to Bike Ped and you can go to this.
It's
don't-
not, Bike Ped sometimes has votes on funding and recommendations.
Oh, in which
for
case you
funding.
both want to be there. I get it.
So it would depend on the subject matter. I'm happy to leave it the way it is and try to manage it as best I can, because like I said, you're so frequently there. I do have future interest.
Oh, I know.
Being
Yeah,
primary.
yeah.
Well, in that way, I think staying on is probably a good
Yeah,
idea.
Getting the agendas and
Yeah.
seeing what's going on. Okay,
Yeah.
let's
If
keep
you're okay
you
with
on.
that?
I'm okay with
I
that.
can do that one if you, are you? okay?
Fourth Thursday,
This one is which one are you talking about?
The fourth Thursday.
Peninsula Clean Energy.
I can do the fourth Thursday, if Greg is okay.
I'd be happy to let Myra
Okay.
take that on if she
Okay,
would like.
great. Yeah, I know you've been interested in learning more about what they do and offer. That'd be great.
So I'm going to be the first or the second?
No, the second.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm keeping that one. That's my favorite.
That's your baby.
That's my baby.
It's okay.
After Tiger kindly let me take
I
it
know.
over.
He handed the baby to you.
Oh, yeah, it was Tiger.
So the next one is commute.org. How's that going early in the morning?
It's
Mary?
great. I want us to keep it.
Okay, awesome. And Sue, are you okay as the?
I hate morning, but yes.
It's the same, I hate that.
I like that meeting a lot.
But I can do it.
They provide breakfast.
I can do it if need be.
The JPA life support,
Yes,
Greg?
please.
Okay. I haven't had to go. I can still be the alternate if anybody else has a burning desire. No, okay. The library, JPA,
I like it.
you like it. And Sue, you're good for
Yep.
the alternate? Okay. And then the next stash are the appointed by the county and the state, so we don't really have a choice, but want to make sure people are staying. So Greg, you're okay continuing on LAFCO?
Say that again?
LAFCO, you're,
Yes. Oh,
that's
definitely.
fine, okay. And then, so this should show that both of you are on the CCAG Bike Ped Advisory Committee.
I'm happy with all of mine on this, just
That says that
Oh, it
already.
does show it.
I have an older copy.
Sarah, on the resource management and climate protection, it says third Wednesday of the month as needed. It's actually needed. It's almost always, unless we have like a holiday break or something. So you can just say third Thursday of the month. I mean, Wednesday, sorry.
Okay. And you're fine.
And
serving
I'm fine
on
with that.
this
Oh,
year?
yeah, I'm loving that.
Okay. And Greg, the CCAG Lodge Committee, you're enjoying too. I want to hear more about council updates and what you guys are talking about in these committees.
No, we need to have council updates.
I know, let's do it. Okay, and Mary, and then so, sounds like you're going to need to resign from the Heart Board for your schedule.
I'll talk to Armando before I make the final decision. I'll talk to Armando first.
Okay.
And then I'll
And then
you
let
know.
us know.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, I think it's really important.
It
to
is
have
really important.
Someone from Pacifica, and, I mean, this is really the key to getting some affordable housing.
3 o'clock is terrible time
Yeah.
to go down to Hillsdale.
Oh, and that's the fourth Wednesday you said we should have.
For me, it is anyway. I work for the schools.
Yeah, so if you can add that, Sarah.
But I am going to talk to Armando because it's very important. So if we can't figure out someone to fill in, then I'll stay. And
I
I
know
don't
it's
know what
something
I'll
I'm
do.
interested in, I'm just not quite sure how much I'm committing to yet and what I can reasonably do, but
Well, are you available on the fourth Wednesday?
I am
Fourth Wednesday, but it's at 3.
at 3.
How long does it take? How many hours?
And it's,
2?
Is that a 2-hour about, and then an hour to get there?
and where do they
Yeah,
meet?
there's an extra.
Where is it?
Hillsdale.
Once a month.
Hmm?
It's once a month.
It's once a month, yes.
And it's on Wednesday.
Okay, well,
But it's appointed, so we have to
Yeah.
go through.
Right,
So
so
think about you'd
she's
have to
figuring-
apply
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
through the,
It's, you would,
Yeah.
if she decides to vacate the seat, then it would be something that you
Open to
apply
everybody.
for,
Okay.
and then
I get to vote.
the mayor.
The mayor's vote.
Votes through Council of Cities, City
But you
Selection
can stay
Committee.
for now. Fine.
Okay,
I will,
let us know how it works out. and
I'll
we'll
just
figure
let
it
all those kids walk home.
out. Okay. And thank you for continuing to serve on the local cities working group and leadership of that. Are you chairing that again this year?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not. No. The vice chair is chairing it now.
Yay.
He's now the chair.
Okay.
Mark Edmeyer from San Clemente.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I get to
Good.
just be a member. Yeah. That's exciting.
I have an old one, so the Prosperity Council got taken off, so that's good. One last thing. And I should look at my screen because that's where it is.
Are we at our regular ones?
Wait, so I'm,
We're at
okay,
City
yeah,
of-
sorry, and I skipped, because I had an old print, and Sarah added the new one that I'm on, right? that
Yeah.
I'm just starting this
So
January.
that, and then mine comes next.
Right.
And then we already talked about bike and ped.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I had things in a different order. I should be looking at my screen. Okay, I think we've done all those.
Okay.
Okay, so beautification, Myra, are you,
I'm okay if someone wanted. I'm okay. If
but
someone
you're
wants-
okay continuing on that?
If no one wants it.
know that's-
Beautification, anyone?
I know that's something you're really passionate about, the beautification of the city.
Well, but I feel like I can still go to them when they have cleanup, so.
Does anyone else have a burning desire to?
I can't do another Wednesday.
No, neither.
Okay. I think we'll let you stay. And Sue, are you okay being the the
Yeah,
alternate.
I'll be out. If you can't make it, you need me to go.
Thanks.
Do we have any more information on the climate action, on what day it's going to be, or they're determining that on the 14th tomorrow? They're determining.
They'll determine that at their meeting on the 14th.
So then will we bring that back at a council meeting, Sarah? To figure that out once we know?
Yeah, we can bring that back for council action to assign liaisons after the meeting dates have been set.
Got it.
Okay, let's do that then. So we can put that on the agenda for the next meeting at the end of the month. Okay, so economic development, I think, I'm hearing Myra wanted to continue serving on that. Is that okay with you, Mary?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Want to say that?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want
How about
to?
you?
Do you want to be?
I can be the alternate.
Okay.
You just let me know if you can. Wait, do I have anything else on Tuesdays?
Second Tuesday.
I'm happy to continue on emergency preparedness. And I think we aren't able to have an alternate because it's the third Wednesday. But so I think that's okay. We just let them know. I've been communicating. And library advisory, I know you wanted to stay on that. That would be great. And I've never gone, so I could still be an alternate unless somebody else wants to learn about libraries.
What?
Anybody else want to learn about libraries and be the alternate?
For library advisory.
It's Wednesday, so the second
Oh, yeah,
Wednesday,
you're
no.
working.
Yeah. No, okay, I can stay on.
And
then OSPAC.
I'll take OSPAC.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
And probably we don't have an alternate again because it's the third Wednesday.
In Greg, open space, and this is the third one.
Look at you, Sarah, you're fast.
Did we talk about?
Okay, and then we have our youth advisory board. So it sounds like
I can do fourth.
There's
whatever it
interest.
is.
And
I don't want to take it if someone else wants it. Sue?
Can we split it? Could Greg do fourth and Mary, do you want to do it? I figured you would.
I'll do the second.
Can we do that? That'd be awesome.
Fun. Great.
thank you, Calvin, for bringing that up. That'll be great. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about, we used to have a.
Let me, for the Youth Advisory Board, the primary was?
No, it's.
There's two.
Oh, just one?
No, they're both primaries. One's going to go on the second Wednesday, Greg, I think, and then.
No, I'm going on the fourth. Mary's going on the.
Mary on the second, Greg on the fourth.
And Kim Finale's going to go to every meeting. No, just kidding.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I wanted to bring up as a possible suggestion, we used, partly because I've just been contacted by the Pacifica School District for a meeting coming up next week. We used to have a joint articulation committee with the Water District, the school district, both school districts, the Pacifica School District and Jefferson Union, and then the city, which I think was the city manager and a council member.
A council member, yeah.
And I know it hasn't been something Kevin thought was valuable to continue, but I really think it'll be important for a new city manager, and we can talk to Kevin.
Well, again, I'm gonna, it was actually JUHSD that pulled out.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily Kevin, so I don't want to take that away from.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But especially for a new city manager coming on and getting to know our partner agencies and stuff too, I think that might be a really good thing to restart. What are your thoughts, Kevin? Is that something that, I know it hasn't always been valuable in terms of the information.
Yeah, I think part of the dynamic was, instead of having all 4 agencies meet together, the independent relationships is what I'm remembering. And when we had talked about
2 by 2.
doing like the city and PSD meeting as necessary, city and water district, city and Jefferson Union, or, on kind of an ad hoc or as needed basis. But I think it's a valuable thing to continue. I think the school district, went through a difficult time last year, still is, but starting that again with PSD would be good. And we have
I
a
agree.
meeting set up,
Yeah.
an introductory meeting
And supporting their
with the
workforce housing
superintendent.
project however we can, just to know
Yeah.
more about that.
But I guess it would be not just a question for us, but a question for all 4
Everyone else.
agencies.
Mhm. Right.
If you wanted to do the whole group again, it seemed that, and those that serve should chime in, but it seemed that there was a little bit of sort of disparate communication because not all 4 agencies had the same issues going on with each other. But,
Right.
I mean, I always found them informative and valuable and good sharing, but.
Yeah, and it was a Pacifica school district that was that hosted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might want to we can bring it up to Carissa.
Right, okay.
It sounds like a structure to have a place to bring
Yes.
challenges to,
That wasn't happening. The challenges weren't coming up.
to build a relationship so
Yeah.
that you can
Deal
avoid
with
a
the
challenge.
challenges. No, I think it should start, yeah. We can talk about the structure, I guess. I don't know how to move forward with that, but.
Okay. Well, and to
Perhaps.
Michelle's point, I don't know if this would be something new, and obviously we need the other partners to be willing to do it too. So maybe there are conversations I can have as mayor, as we're setting things up with the agencies and see if there's interest and we can work together. And
Okay.
Reach out to Tony Presta as well.
I need some contact information because I.
No problem.
Okay. And who's the board president of the water district now? I can look it up, but.
Probably Josh.
Oh, it's Hauser.
Oh, yeah.
He
Okay.
just became the board chair.
Okay, I know.
He was just named.
Okay. I think that's it. Right, Sarah, you have everything you need?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I made notes of the amendments, and then it will just be a motion and vote to accept the amended list as you discussed.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Vote. Where's my voting button?
It's weird.
I know.
And with the amended list of 2026 council liaisons, with the motion made by Councilmember Beer and seconded by Vice Mayor Wright, the motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. So let's see if we can get out of here by 10. But I want to have some time for council communications and obviously staff communications. Since we haven't done that in a while. So who would like to start? You have something you'd like to share?
I'll start. Because I have something I want to say.
Yay.
I wrote it down. I just feel like, like they had the Golden Globes last night, and it's just phony, right? To me, we can't just come up here and act like nothing is going on in our country. Right. So I wrote some things down, so I'm just going to go ahead, okay? As a member of Pacifica City Council and as a neighbor in this community, I want to speak from the heart. In moments like these, when fear and uncertainty are present, our greatest responsibility is to care for one another, and to protect our most vulnerable neighbors. Pacifica has always been a place where people can look out for each other, where compassion matters, and where we lead with our values rather than fear. Across the country, people are marching and peacefully protesting the actions of those who hold the highest level of power. These acts of civic engagement are rooted in love, hope, and a desire for justice. Here in Pacifica, creating spaces for safety, love, and support matters more than anything else. Our words and our actions should help people feel grounded and welcomed and protected, especially those who may be feeling targeted and afraid. I encourage our community to pause, breathe, and choose connection over panic. Let's be thoughtful about what we share, how we speak, and how we show up for one another. Protecting our neighbors means checking in, offering reassurance, and committing to calm, fact-based communication. When we do this, we strengthen the fabric of our community. Pacifica is strongest when we stand together in dignity and care. So let us continue to be a community where everyone belongs, where peaceful expression is respected, and where love guides us through uncertainty.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Can't fake it.
And it's important to stand up and not fake it and not ignore what's happening in our country. Thank you. You're a tough act to follow, though.
Only tonight.
Always. Okay. One thing I wanted to ask, because I just saw it, and I can't go because of overlapping meetings, is Ray Mueller's having an open house at his office down the coast on some day from 4 to 6 p.m. Did anybody else see that today? Here it is. You are invited to join Supervisor Ray Mueller this Thursday, January 15th, from 4 to 6 p.m. I've got Coastal Cities Group and you at that time, I'm pretty sure.
I'm going to Esalen tomorrow morning for the week.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, the Coastal Cities Group starts at 4. By the time it's over and you would drive down, it would be almost over. But I'm willing to do that. But it would just be the tail end. It sounds like a mixer and then a presentation at 5 of some kind. So I just wanted to highlight that. Enjoy refreshments, mingle with community members, and attend a brief program at 5 p.m. So in terms of representation, I just wanted to bring that forward.
I have a meeting from 4 to 5 that day, but I could go after, but I missed the presentation.
Right. So, yeah, I have the same. So.
Isn't it tomorrow that we're going to be meeting with?
And tomorrow's the sheriff, and I thought maybe we should talk about that because
Who's going?
we got a legal memo. I have a friend in town. I would go for a little. I was thinking I should go as the mayor but I could only stay for a little bit. So if 2 other people want to go instead and can stay, that's probably better.
Vice Mayor?
I would like to go.
Tomorrow I have the economic development.
Oh. It's at what time? I feel like I had,
6:15.
I was going to move something.
6:30.
It's at 6.
Was it at 5:30 or 6?
It's for
Okay.
the sheriff meet and greet tomorrow here is at 6 o'clock.
Okay, I can go.
Okay. Well, thank you both.
Okie dokie. And then we were invited, I think, this evening or this afternoon to the Fog Fest check distribution. Is happening Wednesday, the 14th at 6, and I can't go.
How about Mary Ann thing? If you're going to have something for her?
Oh, right. But I wanted to just mention this first. So I'm just trying to look at where it is.
I can't go on the 14th.
Rihanna, where are you? Here. It is at the community center, at the community center at 7 p.m. So if anyone can go, it's a nice event.
What day? This Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Okay.
This Wednesday, which ordinarily would, oh no, for me, it's Library Advisory Committee, so I'm going to go to that. But if we're out early, I'll go. So, and then the other thing that is, sad and hard is that Marianne Neihart passed. That was after our last council meeting, and she was a powerhouse for this town on this dais. She was a leader for us, for this neighborhood here in Sharp Park. And especially at the county level, she was really such a beacon and really worked. She chaired CCAG for like 3 years. She was amazing. And so there is a memorial. Council members know about it, and others are learning. I think it's being posted out, and people are welcome to attend. It's going to be on Saturday, the 31st of January at the Community Center Auditorium from 1 to 4 p.m. It's a celebration of life. There will be some of her family, lots of friends, little video show, photos, and all of that. So.
Thank you. And at our next meeting, we'll have a proper proclamation and
Yes.
more
Yes.
to celebrate
Yes.
Marianne.
So if you have anything you want to, put into a whereas, send it my way because I'm working that up right now. That would be great. I appreciate any input.
Yeah, I would love to.
Thank you.
Yeah, she was key in our prevention work, key.
Yeah. Thank you. And I feel really unprepared to give you anything from resource management or any of that. I'll have to do that next time.
That's okay. Myra, do you have anything you want to say? Okay. Good? No, you're good? Okay. I'm good too. So, City Manager Woodhouse, do you have any staff updates?
The only communication I wanted to provide is that at our next meeting, I will have our new Economic and Housing Development Manager, Gretchen Heckman, here to introduce her. And I think you've heard a little bit about her bio. And as well, today was the first day for Michael Christensen, who's our new Deputy Director of Community Development. Comes to us from San Francisco, where he's worked on major planning initiatives and technologies. And so he'll be here in person as well at the next meeting. So I just wanted to mention that we'll have an opportunity, if you don't meet him before then, to meet him on the 26th, as well as introduce him to the community.
Thank you. Congratulations on the great hires. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I'll adjourn our meeting in memory of Marianne.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And yay, Christine.
Right on time. 10 o'clock. Good job.